This week on Head to Head, the Rise of Skywalker trailer breakdown.
You're listening to Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Two fans, two generations, all things Star Wars. Begins now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Eric Vansel.
And I'm Daryl Sanders.
And we're your hosts for this podcast. So there's a lot of exciting things that have happened this week.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's been a crazy weekend. And in fact, things are still happening. Because as you know, we're in the middle of Star Wars Celebration.
Yep.
And of course, on this show, we're going to talk a lot about Star Wars Celebration. And next week, we'll do a whole recap where we'll take everything in totality and, we'll actually
probably delve into a lot.
Yeah, delve into a lot more stuff. But being that we're recording this, as everybody who listens to the show knows, we usually record on the weekend and then it's out by Monday. So right now, we're right in the middle. This is on a Saturday, so we're right in the middle. And we'll talk about some other stuff. But one thing that I wanted to start out with is if you've heard about the whole Disney Plus streaming service, they actually announced the price and the release date. It's coming out November 12th, and it's only going to be $6.99 a month.
Yeah, I mean, that's an awesome deal. I think that, as we're moving in, you and I have always talked about this probably a few years ago. We were always saying that the way that the industry is going, that, TV is actually going to become kind of obsolete and everybody is going to go to like the streaming and computer. And it's happening, like I said, Disney joining the big streaming market along with Amazon and Netflix and HBO and all the other Hulu and Stars and all the other.
Of course, they're the first studio to do it. That's what makes it really interesting is they're actually content created. Now, of course, Netflix and Amazon have begun making their own films. Some of them really, really good. Some of them
not so much.
Yeah, just a little kind of made for TV. But I don't know. I find this whole thing really, really fascinating simply because, like you said, people are starting to move away from it. But I kind of wonder if it's going to be a situation where there's going to be somewhat of an issue where you have to subscribe now to like 10 or 15 or 20 different, people are constantly complaining about cable, right? That it costs, I don't know, $150, $180 a month in some cases. And so everybody's cutting the cord.
Right.
Okay. Along comes these, $10, $12, $15 streaming services. And it's like, great. I subscribe to like 2 or 3 of those and, I'm good. I'm saving a ton of money.
Right.
Problem is now everybody's adding them. Before you know it, if you've got like 10 or 15 of these $10 streaming services, you're paying
cable prices.
Yeah, you're paying cable prices.
Well, the cool thing about that is that, you can always select, like if there's some things that you don't watch, let's say like you watch a particular show that's only on a particular streaming service, like let's say Game of Thrones, and that's all that you really need HBO Now for. Well, then you just watch the season and then you just continue it until it comes back again.
You know what? That's a lot of people were doing with YouTube Premium when it came to Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
So I'll bet you, because it's going to premiere, season 2 comes out in a couple of weeks.
Yep. So yeah, that's what a lot of people do.
People just resubscribe and then watch what they want to watch, and then
it's no different than with Tidal or Spotify or a lot of people just kind of even their music choices. Like some people just kind of pick things as they need it, and then
but here's the thing though, and this is what fascinates me about it, is the fact that now if they just release all their content at once, then you had that option. So like if I'm a Cobra Kai fan, which I am.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, right now, they release all 10 episodes or whatever. Okay, fine. I can watch them, do whatever, and then cancel the service until the next season. But a lot of these streaming services are getting smarter. They're starting to do week to week now.
Well, yeah, even if
you're not going to have that option.
Well, even if you did week to week, I mean, you still could do it and still like, okay, let's just say it's on from like the run is from June to, let's say, August or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You still, I mean,
because it's not like a TV thing.
Yeah, because the thing I love about streaming, and this is where Disney is really cool, is that like you're getting what specifically you want as opposed to cable. And I was actually having this conversation with somebody.
Absolutely.
Like, with cable, they'll offer you this package of, oh yeah, you get 350 channels, but really 80 of them work.
Right. Or 80 of them have, channels that you don't even want.
Exactly.
There's like 3 things, like 3 channels maybe you watch. Yeah, I love the whole streaming. And cable's getting in on streaming. You have DirecTV Now and all this stuff. And there's was it like Sling TV or something you can watch? Yes, live TV.
But yeah, I mean, and that's the cool thing is like especially if you have kids, so there's something on there. Disney stuff, of course, has all the Disney, movies, and from Lion King to
and then again, all the Marvel ones will be on there. Star Wars, of course,
and of course, like they're launching with Mandalorian, which is awesome.
That's the man.
Yeah, so we can't wait, because that's the big thing for us is that all the Star Wars content, all the Marvel content will be there, and like I said, it's gonna, definitely lead off with the Mandalorian.
Well, the funny thing is that for $6.99 a month, or I hear if you do it yearly, it's only $69 a year. So, it's kind of like you're paying for 10 months, really.
Mm-hmm.
What an amazing price that is.
Yeah.
That's going to kill stuff like Amazon. Because Amazon, well, maybe not Amazon. Because Amazon does have, audio and books and, like music, stuff like that. And then, of course, they have the free shipping, 2-day shipping. But Netflix just raised their prices not that long ago.
Yeah.
They still have the whole disc thing, but people are moving away from that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually put a blog about that on the Eric Vansel Media site, why it's still a good idea to own discs, but, they sold about half as many discs or something like that they did, a few years ago. So streaming is definitely, the future. And I think that Disney did the smartest thing in the world by offering it as cheap as they did, because they have massive amounts of content, and then they can, everybody is going to look at it like, oh, $6.99 a month?
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, like you're almost, especially like Disney being who they are, with them holding so many different properties.
Yeah.
With Star Wars, with Marvel, and then Disney stuff itself. So whether you have kids or not, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get it because, okay, if you're a Marvel fan and you want to watch, Captain Marvel or Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever, anything that's coming out with Phase 4 and beyond.
Absolutely.
Like, you're going to you got to go to Disney for it. If you're a Star Wars fan, all the Star Wars content is going to be there. And that's just if you don't have kids.
We're all big kids at heart anyway.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And then, quite frankly, I mean, I'm a Lion King fan, so I'll definitely be sitting in the tenor section when we go see the Lion King. So, I think it's great, man.
Well, speaking of being a big kid, there's a little event going on in Chicago right now as we speak.
Yes, sir.
Star Wars Celebration 2019 kicked off Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything you want to say about, because I unfortunately didn't have a chance to watch all the coverage, but, being that you're still recovering from your accident and everything, and, you're off work, and you didn't have a whole lot of physical therapy you had to do, you've been able to do it. So what is your overall feel of just not any of the panels necessarily, but just the overall event? Because, they stream this stuff live. Right. So, they're doing interviews and talking to participants. And what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, from what I've seen thus far, you get to see there are a lot of surprises, definitely. You got a chance to see, of course, the cast, even some new cast members that's going to be in episode 9. And we'll get to that.
Yeah, I like the fact that they actually broke out and did interviews where they were almost like mini panels. The other thing was the staging. I thought was really cool. The way that they have the whole thing, even just the show floor, the way they have everything laid out. The other thing that I noticed from the limited stuff that I was able to watch is that the fans are excited again.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not that division and that hatred that, and the vitriol that was out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, like I said, you saw, of course, folks in cosplay, everybody, all the true Star Wars fans. And I mean, I'm still amazed at like how big Star Wars is for people. Like,
I know.
A lot of people ask me all the time, like, why do you do a podcast on Star Wars?
Right.
But I'm like, like I think like our thing is kind of minute compared to, there's a whole 501 Legion like that you sign up for that goes state by state, and you actually can sign up to be a stormtrooper. And there's a whole community of just like, oh, you part of the 501. It's like,
I know, it's almost like being a Marine or something,
exactly.
and it's like
they got,
this is a movie, right? I mean,
yeah, it's like people are actually calling each other like commander and everything.
yeah,
they
get deep. It's like, look, we're nerdy, but we're not geeky, and I think that's it. But you know what? And that's the thing. Whenever people ask me the same thing, I'm doing a Star Wars podcast this weekend, and they're kind of like, oh, really? Well, okay.
All
but
right.
you know what?
Yeah.
Take a look on YouTube right now and just look at the live stream of Celebration and look at how many people are there. Yeah. And it's not all people in weird costumes and stuff like that. It's families. It's, look, your lawyers, your doctors, a lot of your guys they're probably there.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a big thing. It's a big community. And it is a fun topic to discuss.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, I mean, I think overall, from what I've seen, it's really cool. Like you said, the sets, just the interaction with the cast. I mean, the cast is really excited, and one of the most beautiful things I can say about that I saw was the love that they gave Kelly Marie Tran when she came out.
Yeah.
Because she took a
huge
hit. Yeah, beating.
Such a beating that I remember we were compelled to actually address that on one of our podcasts.
But yeah, and you could just see that, when they showed her so much love, like how grateful and how appreciative she was.
I'm honestly surprised she went.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, I don't know if I would have wanted to go after all that,
Yeah, and that just shows a testament to her character as an actress and as a part of the Star Wars community now, because whether people like it or not, she's here, and she still stepped up to the plate and she sat down and, she had a bunch of fun with stuff, and seeing her as the actress as opposed to Rose and just the love that she got was really awesome.
That was awesome. Let's talk about the episode 9 panel. We now have a title, and of course, we are going to go over the trailer. That's part of our feature topic. So we had the title. Title is The Rise of Skywalker. We're going to talk about the title in our Duel of the Fates.
Mm-hmm.
So for the purposes of, just our discussion, so it's not, we can still call it the episode 9 panel, because actually that is what it was called.
Absolutely.
Because they revealed the title during the panel. But what were your overall thoughts on the panel? I did get to watch it, by the way.
Okay, so you watched the whole panel?
I did watch the whole panel. When I got home last night, the first thing I did was, eat. Then, I basically was able to watch the entire panel.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, they opened it. Well, first of all, Stephen Colbert is like, now,
were you surprised that they didn't ask Warwick Davis to host that again? I mean, I know he was there hosting some stuff, but I was really shocked.
Yeah, I mean, but I kind of like Stephen Colbert. Is his whole relation.
He's one of JJ Abrams' friends. I know that. And you're right. I actually thought that he made he was a really good host, and he was funny.
Yeah, he was hilarious. I mean, it's almost like
when he threw that notebook. Like, okay, that's it. I can't ask any more questions.
So basically, you asked me just to ask a question, I get answers. I mean, that was like a hilarious line. And, it just really showed the friendship between JJ and Steven. But, yeah, I thought it was awesome. They led out with Anthony Daniels.
Right.
And he came out, and he was awesome, as always. And one of the funny things that he did was talk about I think Steven asked him about if 3PO was real.
Oh, yeah.
And that
would he want to own him or something, or own that model? And
and then he kind of talked about the whole, Alexa and GPS thing, kind of like being 3PO anyway. And then, of course, he started doing the voice of 3PO as your GPS or Alexa. And that was hilarious. And I was like, I called you and I was like, man, that would be hilarious. I want to actually do that. Like, actually have 3PO as my Alexa. Or
they released that. They actually had. I remember when they had that out. It wasn't for the phone GPS stuff. It was really more for like TomTom and Garmin, I think was the other one. But yeah, they had 3PO. They had Darth Vader. I think that was it as far as Star Wars ones, because they had different ones that you could do. Like a Morgan Freeman one or something. But I mean, it was interesting because the 3PO voice is so distinct. That's one of the things that, even though it basically is Anthony Daniels' natural
Almost speaking voice.
Almost speaking voice. He does exaggerate it a little bit for 3PO, but it's so unique, you know, and he doesn't get as much credit, I think, as he deserves for bringing, especially when you think about it as an actor, he can't emote or anything. He has a little bit of limited movement, but...
Yeah, it's basically all intonation, like in his voice of him doing a lot of different, like, oh my God, you know, just doing things with inflection.
And then, you know, making like head tilts and stuff like that, because he can't really have any facial expressions. So
right.
I think he really deserves a lot of credit. And the thing that surprised me, this actually was true for the last, maybe the 2015 panel. I think that's the last one I actually saw that was streaming. And I remember then even, he was far more entertaining than I thought he would be. I mean, the guy could really hold his own, you know. He can entertain an audience. Yeah. You know, he's really dynamic. He's really cool. And I'm like, wow, I would actually watch this guy host anything. Yeah. I mean, you know, he's just really funny.
Like, I would love to see him like host like the Academy Awards or something like that. Like, that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Especially since he's gold and his character looks like a nerd anyway. I mean, that would just be hilarious.
Well, the thing that's funny about it too is I just think that he's the perfect guy to host a Star Wars thing. Obviously, number one, he's been in all the movies. Yep. In fact, I think he's the only actor that has been in all the films. Yep. So he has that distinction. But he's also just very warm, very friendly, very inviting, and he draws you in. And I think that that's the thing that's really difficult to do because, you know, I mean, look, there's times where you and I have to work ourselves up to even get in the mood for these podcasts, and we love doing the podcasts. Right. But, you know, a lot of times you're just not always feeling it.
Yeah, you're tired or whatever.
And you just have to, you know, or sometimes, I don't know, you guys might notice this occasionally, but the podcast might start out a little stiff, maybe, and then they, you know, by 15 minutes in, we're our usual selves. Well, you know, when you're doing these big hosting gigs, you got to just be on right from the get-go.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and he's really good. So, yeah, he was a surprise, and he actually answered the questions. You could tell he's been doing this a while. Yeah. He's had the 3PO gig for quite some time.
Yeah, he knows how to answer certain questions and get around stuff. And
you could especially see that when you contrast Anthony Daniels, you know, even Billy Dee Williams to a degree with the newer cast, or even the new cast versus the newer cast, right? So Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, those guys have had a couple of movies now to... Right. You know, you could tell when you think about the Force Awakens panel, how they were
very nervous.
They were very nervous, and they didn't really quite know how to handle everything. And it's a complete night and day difference now.
Yeah, you can definitely tell they're comfortable in it.
They're a little bit more seasoned.
Yeah, and JJ, you know, he was awesome too.
He's always hilarious.
Yeah, he's hilarious, and you know, even still watching. Cool thing about JJ was watching his him get emotional about Carrie Fisher, you know, like you can still tell, and you can tell there's a real friendship there, and how he really wanted to honor her. He kind of went into the whole like, okay, we didn't want to do a CG, you can't recast her, you know. So it's just like,
it was kind of cool to actually hear his take on some of the things that we had been talking about for months. Yep. But I mean, I will say that one of the things that really impressed me. And it gives me a lot of hope for this new film, is how confident he is. Yeah. You could tell he's very much at ease. He's very confident. He has no worries at all. You could just tell by his body language that he knows, look, you guys are going to love this movie. I know you're going to love this movie, and I can't wait till you see it. So that was cool.
Yeah. I mean, JJ, you know, he's, you know, I've always... appreciated his stuff, especially with Star Trek. You know, for him, I've always said this before, that for him to not even be a true Star Trek fan like that, right, and to see what he did with that franchise, I mean, it's just like,
I remember when he first did Force Awakens, right, and I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, you guys, you know, there were a few people that I had talked to that were like, well, I don't know, you know, and I'm like, look, think about it. The guy wasn't even a Star Trek fan, and look at what he did to Star Trek. He loves Star Wars. Imagine what he's going to do.
Exactly. And now that, okay, he had to kind of set up this whole world with Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but a lot of people, wish that he just did the entire trilogy, honestly, which I can understand why. I mean, I kind of do too, because I would just love to see what his vision would have been all the way through.
I wish that if he wasn't going to direct the whole thing, I wish that he would have at least produced. I know he executive produced The Last Jedi, but I wish he would have produced it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe even written it.
Yeah. I mean, because, there's a lot of different things, and, I believe that he's going to have to retcon some things or fix some errors maybe from 8.
Yeah, and I think just judging by the interview at the panel, and even some of because, they were trying to coyly reveal some things and just dance around some things, but just based on the overall vibe, I think that it sounds like they're going to retcon what needs to be retconned, and in a way that stays true to the story.
Right.
And will make the fans happy. Maybe not with giving us fan service per se, but will definitely make us happy. Although I do think there's going to be plenty of fan service in this. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, going on to some of the other characters, like Daisy Ridley was there.
Well, let's not overlook Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh, yeah. Kathleen, yeah, that's true.
Her whole thing that I noticed on this panel in particular is the fact that she was really relaxed and really just warm and genuine and funny, and more so than I've ever seen her on any other panel. Mm-hmm. I almost got the feeling she was a Star Wars fan. I know that sounds, terrible or whatever, but there's always been the feeling that because she's so into the business part of it,
right?
You can't really see her curling up to the Lords of the Sith novel or Dark Disciple or, things like that, which, by the way, we will have some of these novels available in links because, as you guys know, we are now participating in the Amazon link or affiliate program, and that really helps support our channel. So, if you guys are going to buy this stuff anyway, use our affiliate link and, have at it. So, yeah, I just can't imagine her, actually just getting into all the minutia, I guess, of Star Wars. And that's still probably true. But I actually feel like she's really, into this stuff. Yeah, and that's a vibe I got anyway from the panel.
Well, yeah, and that's the cool thing, because on the last podcast, we talked about how the shareholders got a chance to see some of the sizzle reels from
that's right.
the movie. And so, their reaction to it, and then now seeing JJ so calm, seeing Kathleen really calm and jovial about it all, and honestly, once again, you didn't hear about anything going wrong. It's not like the Solo thing, you didn't hear about, and even though with 8, you didn't hear anything, which a lot of people
actually, maybe it's better if things go wrong, right?
Maybe. But I think that we even heard stuff from Mark Hamill, though. Mark Hamill was kind of I don't know.
Well, he didn't. He was pretty vocal about how he didn't like Luke's direction.
So you're kind of okay, but with this, nothing. And it seems like it's been smooth sailing.
That's true. I never really thought about that, but nobody's really brought up any production issues or, Kathleen Kennedy hasn't been wanting to fire half the
crew
half the crew exactly, or rewrite the script or anything like that.
Right.
So that's a good point.
Yeah. So I think that speaks to the testament of this movie. I think it's really going to end. And everybody, like I said, we've always said that, they have to bring it home with this.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
And this
is probably
the most important, honestly, at this point.
The trailer is probably even more important than The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really critical time for Star Wars, which
in the galaxy, and
right. But it actually makes me wonder in a way. Of course, and we're going to talk about it later, but we got to actually see the teaser trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the sizzle reel that they saw was different in any way from the trailer, or if they just saw the trailer.
I'm sure they probably saw more. Just because I think they need to have like the overall scope of the movie as a shareholder.
Yeah, that could be.
So I think you kind of
listen. You guys aren't making The Last Jedi 2 over there, are you?
Yeah, exactly. Like we need to see like a little bit more in depth in some.
Well, but then again, though, I mean, even these movies that were supposed, well, The Last Jedi was just the fans hated it, right? Well, at least some of them, a lot of them. And Solo was considered a disappointment, but they still made a boatload of money. So, I mean, I don't know if the shareholders would necessarily be all that concerned.
Well, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. Like, people are going to see it because of Star Wars. I mean, people just, and it's almost one of those things like you got to see it just so you can put things in context.
Yeah.
So people are going to go out and see it just because it's Star Wars.
Yeah, but one of the problems and we've discussed this, we didn't think there was a context. That was one of the complaints that we always had. I mean, that's one of the things that I was really surprised the shareholders weren't a little bit more, and who knows, they were not there at the meetings, but you know what I mean? It's like, okay, it seems like, and we've talked about this, where each director was almost like choose your own adventure.
Right.
I would have liked and JJ would have been the one I would have wanted to do it, is if he wrote an overall outline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's all the beats. Here's where the story begins.
Right.
Here's kind of the middle, and then you have the end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys can do whatever you want within the scope or within these parameters, but the movie has to begin here, it has to end there, and it has to hit these beats. Other than that, you can do whatever you want creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Problem I have, I brought this up on a lot of our podcasts,
mm-hmm.
is it seems like it's just like, okay, JJ finishes his movie. Yeah, Ryan, you take the story wherever you want to take it.
Right.
Okay, let's see the script. Yeah, okay, the script looks cool, fine. And then Colin Trevorrow, who was originally the director of 9, he apparently got the same thing. Like, okay, now you take it wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that is going to create, I think that actually put more pressure on, well, first Colin probably, but then JJ. Because actually, we did hear about problems with 9, because that's why Colin Trevorrow was fired. You're right. We haven't heard any since JJ took over.
Right.
But that's probably because he was able to just, okay, I can take this and I can fix this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you just need somebody like that who's going to be able to confidently step in. I mean, it's almost like when they with Solo, you brought in, Howard to do it. It's just because he's seasoned enough and he has enough credibility. He has enough experience to like, okay, you know what, we're in crunch mode.
That was a brutal job.
Yeah, and so for him to pull that out, as good of a movie as Solo was at that time, under those circumstances, I mean, he almost needs an award for that.
Absolutely.
So
well, see, and that's the thing. It's like with all these like almost and what ifs, I would love to just be able to have the ability to step in alternate universes, and I want to see George Lucas's 7, 8, and 9.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Lord and Miller's Solo. I want to see Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9. Not because I necessarily think that any of these were better. It's just I would love to have seen what would we originally gotten. Oh, if we're talking crazy alternate universes, I would like to see the Episode 9 that would have been if Carrie Fisher hadn't died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean...
stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of silly and stupid, but at the same time, that's where my mind goes.
No, I mean,
I wonder about stuff like that.
You definitely have to, especially when it's out there.
That's the thing. Here's the thing. This is why I think sometimes the whole social media, all this information that's out there, once upon a time, especially with the original trilogy, it's like, okay, yep, Empire Strikes Back came out. Glad you all liked it. Now we're going to go off in this cave somewhere, basically, and make Return of the Jedi. And you guys aren't going to know anything about this except for a few interviews and maybe like Starlog magazine or People magazine or something.
Right.
And then you guys are all going to find out about it when it opens. The thing I liked about that, as terrible as it was to really wait for this stuff, but one of the things that I loved was the fact that I didn't have any real expectations. I was just able to see the thing unfold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now that I know that Colin Trevorrow actually had a whole movie ready to go, and then he was fired, it's like, well, man, don't get me wrong. I trust JJ a lot more than I trusted Trevorrow, but it's like that part of me actually wants to see, like, man, I wonder what his movie would have been like.
Yeah, and like after you see 9, it's like, okay, well, it's going to be better. What would have been better? Like Colin Trevorrow,
right.
like, yep, dang, I wish he would have did that one because that would have been infinitely more cooler than JJ.
It's kind of the way I felt about Solo. You know, at first I was actually happy that Lord and Miller were fired, considering the direction they were taking it, until some of the scenes that I heard that were theirs that remained in the movie, some of the coolest stuff. And then when more came out about how they were making it, I was almost like, man, you know what? That might have actually been a really cool movie. I kind of want to see it. And the scary thing is, you know, that footage is probably there. They could probably cut together. I mean, they were 80% done with it.
Right.
They could probably cut a Lord and Miller cut of
Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you know, even getting back to the panel, I mean,
well, we got to talk about Billy Dee Williams.
Yeah, we got to talk about Billy Dee. Lando Calrissian.
Lando,
yeah, he's
well, first let me start by saying that I love the fact that he's back in the franchise.
Yeah.
But if you all, you know, raise your hand, we'll wait. If you saw, you know,
yes,
the panel, right?
Yeah.
Actually, write us on Twitter and Facebook. And
let us know what you thought about that.
Maybe send a picture on Instagram. You know, we always have to try to plug our social media because that's how we talk to you guys. Yep. And a lot of you guys have been into some really good discussions with us on social media. So we want everybody who's listening, you know, to write and give us your thoughts. And it also influences the direction of the show, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Billy Dee Williams, it was great to see him back. We already knew that he was going to be in 9, but to actually see him at the panel, and you know, and Billy Dee Williams, you know, you and I actually, you know, were joking about this before we started the podcast.
Yeah, before recording, and it's like, you know, I had to say, I'm like, man, we have to say all this stuff. Like, I wish we had actually recorded that conversation now.
Yeah,
but we could
try.
We can replicate it.
Billy Dee Williams, once again, he gave some really cool stories about his character, but for the most part during the interview, man, I mean, he seemed a little out of it.
Yeah, exactly. He was a little out of it, you know, it's almost one of those things like in the hospital when they ask you, you know, your name, birthday, who's the president, that kind of thing. I wanted to do that to him.
Yeah, man, like, do you really know where you are, sir?
Yeah, he just seemed like he was a little,
let's just say he was in outer space.
Exactly.
You know,
and he had moments of lucidity, but then it just seemed like he was just rambling and, you know, like, okay, man, I think.
Yeah, Kathleen was like, all right, and can we ask another question, please?
Right.
To someone else.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, the funniest and the coolest thing about Billy Dee Williams coming out, you know,
talking about how you say that.
Well, yeah.
2019.
Well, yes. Speaking, Billy Dee speaking
coming
about
out on stage,
right? And speaking about his character of Lando as far as Empire Strikes Back and him having to explain Lando's motivation, like for his, you know, what he was actually trying to do in Empire Strikes Back.
Well, sure, because everybody would come, you know, it would be nice if I can talk for this podcast. Everybody kept coming up to him as he pointed out and saying, well, you betrayed Han Solo, you know, and it's like, no, you don't understand.
Like, I was simply trying to buy time.
Exactly. See, that I thought was really cool.
The awesome part was like, but didn't anyone die though?
Right. Yeah, that whole bit that he was saying was really funny. But one of the things that I thought was really cool that's even better than a lot of the characters is that he's really in tune with his character, and he knows the other guys. You know, he's coming out with Boba Fett and, you know, all this stuff. And because a lot of the Star Wars characters don't know that much about Star Wars. I mean, at least the original actors of like a lot of the original crew. They don't care. It was a job. Mm-hmm. You know, Harrison Ford especially comes to mind.
Yeah, he's notorious for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you start talking to him about, you know, well, what'd you think about, you know,
Han Solo doing this? He's like, I don't know.
You know, or some character be like, well, who's that? It's like, what do you mean, who's that? You had a scene with him. You know, it's like, Harrison, who is your favorite alien in the Cantina? I'd be like, you know what? Get away from me.
Right.
You know, and of course, Alec Guinness was notoriously, like, he didn't even think that it was going to be made. Like, they couldn't even finish it. And he was actually expressing some of his disdain before production even wrapped.
Yeah.
So it's really refreshing that Billy Dee actually seems like, hey, I'm kind of into this.
Yeah, and so, how was it hard to get back into him? He was like, Lando never left me. That was always,
the
cool
other thing
here.
too that I was really happy about is the fact that, I don't know what's going to happen from now on, but, I love Donald Glover's portrayal of Lando. Like, I'd love to see a boatload of movies that have him as Lando. But there's also a big part of me that wants the last screen appearance of Lando to be the original guy, to be Billy Dee Williams. It's nice to see a current movie where Billy Dee actually gets to recapture his character.
Yeah.
Donald Glover played a great Lando. Billy Dee Williams is Lando,
though. Yeah.
And that's basically the way I look at it. And it's, in some ways, it's hard to watch because, not now, because Billy Dee is able to come back in the new trilogy. Like, if he had actually appeared in 7, I would have been cool. Because it's like, okay, he's in part of the current, and he did. I mean, he did do the voice of Lando on Rebels, and
right.
He's voiced him in a couple other things. But it's really good to see him in the sequel trilogy on screen in this wonderful character that he recreated.
Yeah. So shouts out to Billy Dee Williams, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tag him on Twitter and see
if he's coherent enough to respond.
Well, yeah, actually, maybe I better not, considering we're basically calling him incoherent and all this. Yeah, let's not tag Billy Dee. Call out to all our listeners. Do not tag Billy Dee Williams in this because, again, any press is good press, right? If Billy Dee Williams starts slagging us and, people are going to be like, wow, who are these guys?
Exactly.
Got to check them out.
Well, I mean, there were some other people, though, that were really, cool to see. Like Daisy Ridley showed up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oscar Isaac was there. Kelly Marie Tran showed up. And, of course, John Boyega. And
Boyega was he animated,
yeah,
man.
Well,
he was at
always animated, man.
Yeah, but he was like at Jar Jar level of animation.
Well, don't say Jar Jar. We hate Jar Jar.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm just talking about energy-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Like, his energy level was just like...
Yeah, over the top. Yeah.
A little over the top.
Yeah, I mean, but, he's that guy, though. I mean, ever since... I mean, just remembering his first reaction to seeing the trailer, I mean, that's still like...
True. Flipping over the couch and...
Yes. I mean, yeah, he was really, really on, man. But John Boyega, he was really cool. He kind of talked about some things about his character of Finn, that Finn actually finds his identity in this movie. He knows who he is. He actually has some clothing that he was really excited for.
The blue pants.
Yeah, the blue pants. He's like, all right, finally I have a uniform. And, I think his character is actually going to grow a lot, which I've been waiting to see anyway.
Absolutely.
I thought his character really needed to be...
That was what I was hoping for in 8.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
like, I get it, what they were trying to do, and it made sense, but I think they could have condensed that part of the storyline and given him more to do.
Yeah.
I thought he was wasted in The Last Jedi, actually, even though he does appear in quite a few scenes.
Mm-hmm. And he does finally admit that Phasma is gone.
Yes. So hopefully that's confirmation that
that Phasma is actually out of here.
Which is too bad.
Yeah.
I was actually sort of hoping that she would come back. I know it sounds crazy, but it just ever actually do something.
Yeah, I mean, she was, when we talk about wasted characters, that's the big one for me.
Absolutely. Just our luck, they'll bring DJ back, but... Well, then there's that new little droid, D.O.
Yeah, D.O. is a new droid, and, when they brought him out, I found it hilarious because it kind of looks like a Slurpee cup on a wheel.
It really does.
It's like when you look at the creation, it kind of looks like a giant Slurpee cup on a wheel. So, I mean, I don't think they put a
that's the thing.
whole
You know
lot
what? At first, I was kind of like, I don't know, that looks kind of like lazy design to me. But on the other hand, I was like, the cool thing about this, though, it looks like something that would be fashioned together from parts around the shop.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that it's not some pretty-looking, futuristic-looking droid. It almost looks like a utilitarian-type droid.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Star Wars, even from the original trilogy, it looked like a lived-in universe, and that's one thing we loved. Everything didn't look like brand spanking new. Everything was kind of like grunge. You just kind of had to make do what you had, and that's what made Star Wars
depending on what your socioeconomic level was, right? Sometimes you can afford like the 3PO level protocol droids, but then there was other ones where it was just a down and dirty. Like I said, it looks like that. The figure was called Power Droid. I don't know if they ended up like really giving it any kind of a name, but it's that square box droid.
Oh yeah,
from Episode 4 that you see like on Jawa ship.
The one Chewie yelled at?
No, that's the mouse droid. That's actually called the mouse droid. The Power Droid was on the Jawa transport. And it was walking.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of clumsily.
Yeah.
I actually had the action figure. That's how insane I was, is that I would get these like random action figures. It's like, who would buy that droid, right? But I did because I wanted it. And the thing that was interesting about that droid to me is the fact that it always looked like something that was just put together for maybe a single purpose or, just it was meant to be more functional. They didn't really care about the form.
Yeah.
So you got to talk about other people on the panel. I'm talking about power droids and.
No, I mean it's cool. I mean, but I think one of the cool things is that Daisy really got to speak about. They asked her about the lightsaber, because that was destroyed in her battle with Kylo,
right?
And she does reassemble the.
Ignite the blue.
Ignite the blue. The Anakin Skywalker lightsaber lives. So that's going to be back. And then there was also Naomi Ackie. That's the newest member to the cast. And
you can tell.
Yeah, definitely. Because she was like giggly.
Yeah, and she was just like really...
like bubbly, and I don't know if she
kind of annoyed me, to be honest. I was actually like, okay, like somebody needs to shut this girl up because she's not making any sense and it's just not really adding any value to me. See, that's the problem that I have sometimes when they give some of these actors the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, I appreciate the almost innocent sense of wonder and awe that Star Wars brings.
It's like a kid on Christmas.
And I mean, hey, for all I know, if I were in the movie, right, I might be nauseating too. I don't know. But it's just one of those things where a lot of times, it's just like, you got to add some value to me. If you're going to put this person on a panel or if you're going to interview them, I need some value.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need these endless stories about how your best friend's downstairs and your dad's doing it. It's like, okay, I get it, but it's just like there was just no real value to me. But the character looks awesome, though.
Yeah, she looks like she's off The Walking Dead or something.
Yeah, or something, right? Or, some... Like
a bounty hunter almost type of person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like kind of a bounty hunter. Like I'm actually very intrigued by her character. And maybe that's what my problem was.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like, I mean, granted, she can't really go into a whole lot.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like where it went is because with her character being so new, it's not like you have any premise to really base anything off of outside of the fact that, it was hinted that she more than likely may be Lando's daughter.
Could be.
So
I don't know. That's just like a racial observation, though. It's like, okay, two African American actors. It's like, they might be related. Well, hey, she could be Mace Windu's granddaughter for that.
Well, it wasn't Finn, so I mean, you gotta. So I mean,
they made the same thing, though. Remember, they actually thought that Finn was like related to Lando or something. I'm like,
yes.
Come on, man. Just because, you know what I mean? It's like,
I'll say it for you. Not all of us look alike, or all of us aren't related.
Right.
Exactly. I know. I get it.
But I mean, it's not even so much that. I just think that it's just more of an obvious thing. But hey, I mean, it could very well be, as they pointed out in the panel,
Well,
Mando probably has lots of kids floating around.
Well, he was a charmer, so
sure, maybe Broom Kid's his kid.
But and then of course,
if he had the kid, he probably doesn't remember, given how incoherent he is. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I hope I don't botch his name up too bad. So I do
Chewbacca?
Yes, is he Giannis?
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's Giannis, but he actually
he's cool. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's like a really cool, he gives the proper respect to Peter Mayhew.
Yeah, definitely.
And Peter Mayhew took the time to
really
help
him.
And the character and help him.
When he says mentor, like he really meant that.
Yeah,
like,
he really does. And he's a really humble, cool guy. I think that the role of Chewbacca could not go to a better person.
Yeah.
And the thing that's cool is that other than certain elements, you really don't notice it's not Peter Mayhew. That's how dead on, he does it. That's how much he respects the character. And I think that that's what's important in Star Wars is that if you're going to take on
an iconic character
from an iconic actor, better be good.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying to get through these. Oh, so going back to JJ.
Now, this is going to be a 2-hour podcast. I can feel it.
But going back to JJ, somebody did ask him a question about force powers. And are there going to be any new powers that we're going to see and new abilities and things like that?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So we did get that answer.
We did.
So, yes, there will be some new.
But did that really surprise you, though? I mean, be honest. Did it really surprise you?
Yeah, it did, because it's kind of like.
No, it didn't. Stop lying to the people. This is being recorded,
Shh, shut up. But no, I think. For me, I think,
dude, we did a whole podcast on force powers.
Well, yeah, I mean, just because I wanted to see it and I was hoping for it, that doesn't mean I'm always going to get what I want. I mean,
well, that's true.
So I'm thinking,
okay. So that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying you're surprised, but I mean, really?
I'm not. I mean, because the reason why I say that is because, all right, with Last Jedi, I mean, we saw some incredible feats, and so it's kind of like, all right, yeah. So I'm just kind of like,
Force Awakens too.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like, all right, well, are we going to see anything completely like new in a sense of, what I mean by this is a power that we've never seen before, or
versus
a
one
power
that's more expanded.
Yeah, like, okay, we've seen a force push before, but if you force push like 80 stormtroopers out of the way,
good example.
like that's different. It's still a force push, but it's just on a grander scale.
Force Ghost, right? We've seen Force Ghost before, but obviously Yoda's like an extension of that now, because it's like they're capable of more, but it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, so on that type of level. So are we going to see something that we've already seen before, just on a grander scale, or are we going to see something completely like that whole doppelganger thing? Like,
right, that was completely new.
That's completely new.
And let's go back to The Force Awakens. The whole freezing the laser bolt in midair, that was completely new.
Yeah.
It was so new it choked you up.
Yeah, I mean,
because you're lying.
It's that someone's force choking me.
That's an expansion of the power.
No.
Just going by your definitions, man. What can I tell you?
Well, yeah, because I mean, like, the cool thing, because I remember in Empire.
Dang, I'm out of water.
Well,
that's a problem. I don't suppose there's a new force power that can fill this thing back up, right?
Well, we're at the Cantina. Just go to the bar and get one.
No, you are in the Cantina. See, I almost forgot what segment this is. Hey, too bad it's not Absolpure, right? That's the water I always announce.
But
I wish it were Absolpure.
Ding.
But I mean, the force power thing, you had the bolt, the freezing of the bolt in 7. I think you had another one, too. Well, and it's true, there were some expansion of, I
mean, Kylo's mind thing, that's new.
Yeah.
The mind probe thing is...
Yeah, that is, I guess, not, well...
We've never seen anyone... Well, I mean, outside of, you want to talk about...
Well, you can't count the Vader thing because...
because it's the Force...
See, he had chemical help, though. He had that little floating orb that...
No, I wasn't talking about that. I'm actually talking about Return of the Jedi, when he probed Luke's mind.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But that's because that's a little bit different because I'm talking about the fact that he extracted.
Actually, that's a good point, though.
But he extracted the Force. I mean,
well, it's not as aggressive, but it's the same kind of thing. See, that would be more the expansion you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, if you want to talk about the Kylo laser blast, that's almost, as I was starting to say before I got Force choked.
An
when
extension
Vader,
of the deflection?
Yeah, when Vader was blocking it in.
No, well, not really, because it's a different thing. It's like it's a deflection.
But
versus a
but it's more of a expansion of that, though. It's like, okay,
so what you're saying basically is it's a new force power, but it's not.
It's still a defense, more.
And it's kind of in the realm of another force power.
Yeah, I mean, like
where the doppelganger thing is completely new.
Yeah, like we've never ever seen anything like that before.
No,
and that's
or like in Return of the Jedi when we first saw Palpatine's lightning thing. That's like a.
Yeah, that was new
like,
at that time. Yeah,
dude, why didn't Yoda bust this out, right? And then you find out it's a dark side thing. But I mean, it's one of those things where I think that still, and that might be where we differed slightly, is the fact that I'm not at all surprised that there's a new force power, or that there's going to be new force powers. And the reason for that is, one, we've gotten either some expansions or some completely brand new stuff in the sequel trilogy, but also you have to look at where the story is going. Just where the story is going and the fact it's wrapping up the saga and all that. It's like you almost have to have new stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's a new generation, so you got to have something fresh and new.
I was pointing this out to my dad the other day because I showed him the trailer.
Right.
And of course, he harped on the fact about, she's flipping. I don't care about the Force and all this. I mean, she shouldn't be able to. It's like, okay. But once we got past all that, one of the things that, I had talked about when we were talking a little bit about Rey was the fact that, she has like all the Jedi text. This is something that no other single Jedi that I'm aware of, well, other than Luke, Luke got it long after he was, a Jedi. She's getting it like right at the beginning.
Right.
So it almost seems like if you have like all these texts that were collected over, probably 1,000 years or more, you almost have to see a new force power out of that.
Yeah. I mean, that stands to reason.
Yeah. So what else you got in there?
Remember,
we're talking about the episode 9 panel.
Right.
That's hashtag episode 9.
So Kelly Marie Tran. It was, like I said earlier, it was such a pleasure to see the fans' response to her and show her so much love on the panel. And, they asked a question to John Boyega about his possible relationship with Rose, because we kind of saw that at the end of Last Jedi. And then there's that whole love triangle. Like, is it going to be Rey, Poe, and Finn trying to compete, in that little love triangle, or is it going to be a Rose and Finn thing? What's Finn's, preference, so to speak? And so basically they kind of alluded to the fact that Finn's is eligible bachelor. Like, he and Rose are going to have some moments maybe, but he's got other things on his mind. So they're kind of like in that talking phase, if you will, today's terminology.
And that's the thing. It's like, on one hand, there's a lot of people that were like, well, Star Wars shouldn't really, they should try to leave more of the romantic type of thing out of it because it gets in the way. But I quickly remind everybody of the whole Han and Leia thing.
Right.
It's like a super prominent, topic in The Empire Strikes Back.
Absolutely.
And it actually was amazing and it worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, it was even hinted of it in New Hope, really, before we found out that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm just talking about when it was really a focus.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I think that there's definitely, it would be okay, but the only thing I would say is that there's so much they have to do with this movie. I just don't think they really have a whole lot of time
to focus on a relationship.
Yeah,
and I think
try to focus on a relationship like that. I think for this episode it would get in the way.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think the way that they're going. If they're playing it that way, in the sense that Finn and Rose kind of just, they're attracted to each other, they have a thing, but they're not really pursuing it because they got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, and that could be something that it's hinted at,
right?
That you would envision a theoretical episode 10,
right?
This is when when the war's over, whatever, we'll get to this, but right now it's just cool it.
We're just friends.
Yeah, just friends. Friend zone.
But yeah, going back to Naomi Ackie, she plays that character. Her name is Jana.
Yep.
And she eventually joins Finn. And the cool thing about that, JJ even said that all the characters are going to meet up and they're going to have this one big.
That's another thing I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about that point. That everybody is just going to have this one big adventure.
Yeah, it's not like people like on separate planets.
Yeah, because you know what? That's something that, well, I can't say it always. Well, sort of. It somewhat irritated me that almost every Star Wars movie, they split everybody up.
Mm-hmm.
The original trilogy, I felt that way, even as a kid when I watched it for the first time. It's like, no, I want Luke to go with Han and Leia and all them. But story-wise, you understood. He's got this whole Jedi Force thing he's got to deal with, and they're doing something else. So it made sense. But I thought that, I hate to keep bagging on The Last Jedi, because we did this whole thing where we defended the movie and said that we loved it and it's great, but it does have problems, and this is one of them. I think that when they split up the whole Finn and Rose thing, I thought it was unnecessary. They didn't have to split them up. It's like you don't always have to have these separate adventures. So I was really happy that JJ made a point to say that, no, everybody's going to have this one big adventure.
Yeah. And even
which, of course, it should, because there's like the entire Resistance fits in the Falcon. I mean, it's kind of like, I have to say that when he said that, I'm kind of like, well, duh, there's like nobody left.
Right.
I mean, granted, they could theoretically split Rey off, or like maybe Rey and Chewbacca or something, and so she can go deal with her Jedi thing, but it just makes more sense, man. It's like you got like nobody left.
Yeah. And I think that's where this cool thing, because they all have to kind of learn to depend on each other too, and that's where the relationship and the bond forms. And even they asked Oscar Isaac, the real tough question of who's the better pilot between Poe and Han. Man, I was just his answer was
pretty good. I actually liked the diplomacy of his answer.
Yeah, he basically was saying that like Poe is a better Uber driver. Basically, he can fly anything, but like nobody can fly the Falcon like Han. And I thought, like, you know what? Great answer. So that's pretty much, my wrap up for the panel.
Yeah. So here's the hilarious part. You should know that we're like, so keep in mind, everybody, that we just finished the first of two topics of the Cantina. The Cantina is the first topic of our podcast. We're at almost an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. This is going to be, buckle up, folks. I hope you've settled in. But you know what? And we were talking about this before the podcast. It needs to be long because this is go time, everybody. This is Star Wars Celebration. Now we're finding out everything.
Yeah, so much information.
And keep in mind, we don't even have it all yet. They still got to do the panel on the novels and
The Mandalorian,
the Phantom Menace recap, or
the anniversary of the
anniversary. Yeah, they got a lot still to go.
Yeah, because even Anthony Daniels, his book, he has a memoir book, which I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, today they actually said the title. What's the title of it?
I didn't get to see it yet.
Oh man!
But we'll do it for the next show.
All right, we'll do it because that's true. We are gonna, just so you guys know, we are gonna do an entire celebration recap for the next show. So each of the topics won't be the standard ones. What we're going to do is we're going to try to take, Friday, Saturday, or maybe Saturday, Sunday, and Monday or something, or maybe the top. I don't know. We have to see in totality what's there. Mm-hmm. We've already really talked about episode 9, so we're probably not going to, we'll do a little bit, but we're just going to basically do a nice recap of everything. And just do like a nice celebration wrap up. We were going to do that. If you guys remember last week or the week before, we said, we might do this whole Google Hangouts and watch it. And that didn't happen. But, hey, whatever. We're just going to roll with it. So this is what we're doing now. So we're focusing on the Friday panel, a little bit of the Saturday, because actually I believe the next topic we're going to talk about happened on the Saturday panel.
Yeah, so coming up next is the panel on the Fallen Order.
Yes, Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, now I had the chance to, even though I didn't get to see the actual panel on it. There was an actual panel on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see that, but I did see the trailer for it. Mm-hmm. And, we've been talking about this game for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you, because you actually saw the panel.
Well, I saw a good portion of it, and you can see all of it.
Well, you saw more than I did. All I saw was the trailer. So you're infinitely more qualified to talk about this than I am. I'll give you my thoughts on it, but I want to frame it within the actual information.
Okay, so let's do it like this. I'll kind of give you the backdrop of the whole game, its release, and kind of like the thing behind it, and then we'll talk about the trailer. Cool? All right.
Oh, you're talking about the trailer for the game?
For the game.
All right. See, I was like, no, we're not. What are you doing? We're recording. All right, cool.
So, Jedi Fallen Order comes out, drum roll please, November 15th, 2019. So,
was it the 15th?
Yep.
I thought it was the 19th.
Nope.
Well, see, this is why you're doing the report.
Yep, it comes out November 15th, 2019.
Wow, that's going to be a pretty heavy Star Wars week. We got the Disney Plus streaming service coming out on the 12th. We got this coming out on the 15th.
Yep, and then Mandalorian with our
it'll be out.
It already been out by
the 12th.
Yeah, it'll be out on the 12th. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff that's coming out in November. It's everything, and of course,
put my vacation time in.
Yeah, and then of course we got like next month is the movie.
Yep.
So I mean, it's going to be everything is kind of released on the holiday.
I mean, we don't know yet. We'll be able to tell you on next week's podcast, but I'm sure there's going to be some novels sandwiched in there too, which we'll have affiliate links for, by the way.
Yes, sir. All right. So this story takes place after Revenge of the Sith, and it follows the story of the main character is Cal. And Cal is a Padawan who's on the run from the Jedi Purge. And he's basically hiding from the Empire, and he's running around. He's trying to like live a normal life. And it's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of Man of Steel, where, and it's funny because his name is Cal.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
But remember when Kal-El in Man of Steel was basically trying to live a normal life?
Right.
But certain situations will put him in moments where he would have to use his abilities. And that's kind of what happens with Cal, is that, he's trying to live this normal life, and there's certain situations where he may have inadvertently used the Force, or because of a certain situation, like someone close to him was going to be hurt or die, he used the Force, and now people are like, oh, wait, you're one of the Jedi, or you're one of
those guys.
Yeah, you're one of those guys. And so, of course, at this point, this is still going throughout the Jedi Purge, and basically you have these really, really cool. They brought some new troopers in, and they're called Purge troopers, and they're
that's interesting.
Yeah, and they're actually designed to actually combat Jedi. They're dressed in like all black and red. I mean, they look really, really sweet, and they kind of look like Inquisitors. But basically, they're kind of like the commandos that kind of corral them. If they find out there's a Jedi or someone with Force abilities like that, they kind of keep them contained and then they kind of let the Inquisitors know, because there's so few of them. Mm-hmm. So then they will kind of call in the Inquisitors. They basically kind of soften up the Jedi until the Inquisitors show up to wipe them out. So that's pretty much what his whole backdrop is. And he kind of has his droid, BD-1. That's kind of like his best friend, his little R2D2 or BB-8 unit, and they kind of go on these adventures together. It's a melee style game, so it's not like an RPG, but it's pretty much
and that's what I got from the trailer.
Yeah,
it sounds like it actually reminds me maybe more of an expanded version of Battlefront 2, because you have to remember, if you've either never played Battlefront 2 or maybe you've heard a little bit about it, I don't know. But Battlefront 2 actually did have a single-player story mode. That was one of the problems that people had with the first Battlefront. Now, I'm not talking about the one that was released in the early 2000s, late 90s or something like that. I'm talking about the recent, post-Disney. Battlefront 2 actually has, and I haven't quite finished it yet. I'm getting close. Just, there's this one level I'm totally stuck on. But the single campaign story mode, where they had like Iden Versio, and all that, it's amazing. It's like really engaging. And usually if it's a melee style game, where it's like a first person shooter kind of thing, I usually prefer that to be the multiplayer ones. But I have to admit that Battlefront 2 had a really cool story, and this one looks like it goes even deeper. Like it's a little bit, we'll see, playability, because everybody knows I prefer the RPG style.
Yeah.
But single-player RPG, not MMORPG. I get lost in games like Skyrim, Fallout, stuff like that.
Right.
So I prefer the RPG, and they haven't had a Star Wars RPG since Knights of the Old Republic.
Right.
And they have the Knights of the Old Republic Online one, but again, it's more MMORPG. So I would rather have another strictly RPG style, which, of course, the Star Wars universe is completely ripe for that.
Yeah, definitely.
And they've kind of messed up on the whole game thing. That's the one way where, and Disney's even taking a second look at it.
Yeah, they talked about it a lot.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they were really talking about just trying to get it right. Yeah, they really wanted to get things right. And they kept using this term, which I thought was really cool. And they call it thoughtful combat. And basically, so you do have, regular stormtroopers in this. And of course, with this character, like, when a lightsaber hits them, I mean, they're instantly like dead, which makes sense. But of course, when you come against like purge troopers,
man, don't do this whole thing to where I'm like just wailing on some dude with a lightsaber, and it's like, come on.
Yeah, you got to hit him like 8 times before he dies.
That's a Call of Duty thing, man.
Yeah, and for this, it's more like, all right, you hit him, a regular trooper, one time, they're done. But other characters like these purge troopers are infinitely harder, and it's now you actually have to try to find their weakness. Like there's things about certain characters where you actually have to analyze their weakness and actually use strategy to actually defeat them. So I think that's really cool.
Well, and even Battlefront 2 has a lot of that too. And that's why I'm saying I think what it's going to be is like the next level. So they learned from Battlefront. They come out with Battlefront 2 because the graphics in both of them were just among the best I've ever seen in games, right?
Yeah.
So I think that what they're doing now is they're taking the playability to the next level as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things they really try to talk about, like the easy fighting controls, the adaptability to things. So they said basically when you get this game, you'll be able to play it. The controls will pretty much come easy to it. It'll be very intuitive. But if you actually put in the time, you can really master it. To the point where, and I guess there's some other, because they did mention you will have a lot of force powers. So I'm sure force push, force pull, the force jumps, all that type of stuff will probably be in there, and probably some other things as well. They did bring up the lightsaber that's in the trailer, and they really wanted to go into it, but they couldn't because I guess it really leaks out a lot about the story because they didn't really talk about the story too much. Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me. And it doesn't surprise me because the way that they've been trying to tie things in to the greater universe,
right?
It's almost like it might reveal too much from not just episode 9, but maybe some other future projects that they're working on.
Exactly. So even when they came to the different worlds and places that you would go, like they were trying to really be mindful
did that with
of
Battlefront
that.
Too,
as far as where they're going to take you because they don't want to give too much.
Yeah.
Well, here's a really cool thing because I was sitting here watching the panel, and the actor that they got to play Cal, and I'm just staring. I'm like, man, he looks very familiar.
It's Henry Cavill.
Close. Oh. So you're really going to love this. So, and when I saw the trailer, and I was like, wow, it really does look like him. But then I actually saw the actual actor.
Well, it's true. I mean, the character in the trailer does have a familiarity that I could not help but notice. But, a lot of these guys, you just figure, okay, he just looks like somebody.
So I hope I'm saying his last name correctly, but his name is Cameron Monaghan. Do you remember the name?
Yeah, that name sounds like crazy familiar to me.
It should, because it's based off one of our favorite shows and one of our favorite characters.
It's like he's a Smallville guy.
Nope, close. Same universe, I will put it that way.
Okay. Gotham?
Yep.
Yeah, right. Oh, man, who is he? It's not Penguin.
No.
Because that's, no, I forgot his name, too. Oh, who was it?
It's Jerome Velasquez.
Yeah, that's it.
The Joker.
That's it.
Yeah, from Gotham. So I thought that was really cool. And he's like a huge Star Wars fan. So he's just like really talking about how much he really enjoyed the game because he really loved like the whole melee version of Star Wars. And he's like, man, just the opportunity to really like swing a lightsaber and actually go through a lot of the movements and stuff. And, just really get into the character. And I was just like, wow, this is really cool for me too. Cause like I said, you and I are huge Gotham fans.
Big time.
So, it was a great panel, man. From what I got a chance to see, they did roll the trailer twice. So since you got a chance to see the trailer, I'll let you kind of talk about.
Well, I mean, basically those were pretty much, my thoughts on it, because obviously without knowing the story, there's not a whole lot you can really say. I mean, the playability looks incredible. The graphics look really good. I really honestly believe that this is going to be an extension and perhaps progression of Battlefront 2. Because one of the things that actually irritated me about Battlefront 2 was the fact that you had an issue where the playability itself was easier than the original, because the original Battlefront, it was really hard to use it's hard to control the character or do anything. Battlefront 2 just has a bunch of stuff, and granted, I mean, I played it a lot, but not super a lot. There's a lot of this stuff, like the crates and all these different things. Like, I never really clued in on strategically how to take advantage of some of this stuff. You could switch up different abilities and powers and stuff, which you should probably do based on whatever level or board you're on, but I never really played it enough to fully understand. See, that's where it's different to me. I wish they would follow the Call of Duty model, because as crazy expanded as Call of Duty has gotten, there's a familiar template to all the games. So even when you get a new one, it doesn't take you long to not only get up and running, but to actually understand.
Right, to adapt to it.
Yeah, I mean, even though Black Ops 4 does have a couple of things that I'm kind of like, well, I don't really know what to do with this. It's not something that's like throughout all the games. All the games is pretty easy. Okay, here's my stuff. Here's everything I need to do. That's what I thought that Battlefront needed to do a little bit better. Well, Battlefront 2 specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that this game, with the whole simplified thing, gets it to where you don't have to be like some sort of super hardcore gamer that has 12 hours a day or whatever to
master.
Yeah, to really not just, I can handle mastering the strategy and the movements, but just show me the stuff. I don't need a bunch of extraneous things.
Right.
I think is really, what it is. Just give me a simple and good game.
Gotcha.
What about you guys? What do you think? Are you excited? First of all, did you see the panel? Did you see the trailer? You know what? We'll link all this stuff. We'll link the panels. We'll link the trailer. We'll link pretty much everything
we can.
Yeah. Everything we can, we will link, in the show notes so you guys, can get up to speed. And then when you do see it, let us know. Hashtag head-to-head SW. And, hit us up at head-to-head SW on Twitter, on Facebook. Post a picture on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. Let us know you're there. Post some of pictures of some of your favorite scenes or something. Because there's a lot of really cool visual stuff. That's another thing I really thought about this panel. It's highly visual.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think it's time to finish up, boy. We've been drinking a lot in this one.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna need to definitely sober up.
Yeah, because you know what? The Cantina is as long as our normal podcasts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what really.
All right. Well, next we have Duel of the Fates. All right. So for this week, Duel of the Fates. Now that we actually have...
You know, you've been getting a lot better at that in the sense of you actually say this week all the time now.
I've been practicing.
Yeah, all right.
Along with my saber technique.
Yeah, well.
So this week, since we have the title, straightforward. Rise of Skywalker. Do you like it or don't you like it?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. You know, it's funny because at first I remember there was a rumor going around. Now, I don't remember if that was the exact title, but I remember it was close. Because I remember Disney was actually freaking out that somebody had actually guessed it. And they're like, oh, man. Because I remember we were told that, I think the Rise of Skywalker, something to do with Skywalker was, I don't know if it was the Rise of, but it was something with Skywalker in the title. Mm-hmm. Balance of the Force was actually the one that was in the lead.
Yeah.
That was the one I actually wanted.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's like the more that I said it and just thinking of the story and the whole trilogy, I'm like, you know what? I don't know. Surprisingly, I was on board with it right away. Maybe that's because, you know, it's kind of like one of those psychological, you're matching this really cool trailer up and, you know, I mean, it could have been called The Hand of Skywalker or something stupid, and I probably would have been like, it's a great title. But yeah, actually, I think the other thing that I like is it conveys power.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people, and I'm not so sure JJ wasn't thinking about this, a lot of people did not. It's not The Last Jedi they hated how they handled Luke. Mm-hmm. They made Luke grumpy.
Right.
You know, he wasn't as powerful like he was he was.
Right.
But he wasn't as obviously like knight in shining armor, like super powerful, at least as far as how they handled him, like in the expanded universe.
So that's why I love how he addresses, like, what do you want me to just walk in and just with a laser sword and just take down the whole force? I mean, he kind of.
And I have to say that was one of the things that we said in our review, which, you know, is still up on our site. So if you guys haven't checked it out, check it out. But in our review of The Last Jedi, I said I thought that it was not only brave to do that, to defy expectations, but I actually thought that the way that, you know, he was written, and then the way that Mark Hamill portrayed it, you know, because the words are great, but if they're not acted right, you know, then it's useless. And Mark Hamill, I thought, even though he didn't agree with it either, you know, he did a great job selling it. You know, I thought he sold it. Like, it actually made sense.
Right.
That he was this disillusioned, you know, he was promised this, and then he found out all the chinks in the Jedi armor, and it's kind of like, man, you know what? I thought it was this, and it's really that, and, you know, I'm just not feeling it right now.
All right.
So the fact that it's almost like a rebirth, like the Skywalker name is going to be powerful again, like it should be. Because as we said, I don't know, it was either last week or the week before, we did the podcast on, you know, whose story is the sequel trilogy really, and it, you know, you can't, I mean, you can nitpick and go, well, is it Luke? Is it Anakin? But it's a Skywalker story. And to actually end it with this mighty rise of the Skywalker name, you know, especially when he paired up with that great trailer, it's chill-inducing.
Yeah, I mean, I like the name. I think what it does, it plays on, of course, all of our thoughts, because you're kind of wondering, once again, what does this mean? You know, is it Rey, a Skywalker? Is it Kylo being redeemed?
Yeah.
And then someone actually there were some great comments that I was following, man, and people were making statements like, well, what if it's a weapon that the Resistance kind of came up with to combat the First Order called Skywalker. And then this was another one which I thought, like, it sounds crazy, but this is the type of thing that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Rise of Skywalker will be Luke actually coming back, actually like almost like a Jesus type thing.
Yeah, see, I was wondering that myself. Now, the couple of things. Now, I hadn't heard the weapon one. The one that I heard was that Skywalker was going to be like a new class of Jedi or something, like
like Academy.
Yeah, almost like the Knights of Ren. They're going to be called the Skywalkers or something crazy, right? So that was the one that I was following. But I wondered the same thing. Like, the only reason why I don't think it's going to be Luke is because Mark Hamill was only there for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't shooting very long, unless, of course, it's another JJ misdirection.
Yeah, or unless like whatever thing that he had to do, it could be like, okay, you know what?
Well,
like let's say he was just doing, because to be a Force ghost, he probably really doesn't have to have to be there. They probably can just use footage and just make a hologram and just have him do the voice. But let's just say he actually returns at the very end of the movie or something like that, and he has one big scene. That would be awesome. You probably could shoot that in a week.
Well, and especially when you really, of course, we'll talk more about it in our next segment, but when you considering a certain character's return, who else are you going to get to fight that?
Exactly.
So yeah, it could be. And yeah, if it's just like, okay, a last big, thing like that, then yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. But I mean, or who knows? Maybe it embodies many things, right?
Yeah, it could
maybe
be.
Rey is a Skywalker. Maybe Luke really does come back from the dead, and maybe Kylo is redeemed.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It could be a combination of all. Yeah.
I honestly, like, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be the redemption of Kylo.
Yeah, well, you don't want to see, but
no, and I'll get more into this when we break down the trailer. But I think that there's some, I don't know, like there's some hints, and yeah, I was hoping that they would stay away from it. But I will say this: if they actually do it well, then I would probably be on board with it, because there was a certain, I'll admit, in The Last Jedi, when, they got done fighting all those Praetorian guards, there was a big part of me when Rey's like, okay, come on, and let's, go fight together. There was part of me that was hoping that Kylo would do it.
Right.
Because, like, a good Kylo, to me, is just as intriguing as an evil one. And even after watching the prequels, I started thinking in terms of like, okay, if Anakin had never turned, that would have been kind of a cool character too. Once you actually see like Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi, before that we just knew that, okay, Darth Vader used to be Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi, but you never really saw him in action. So what would have happened if you actually had an Anakin Skywalker Jedi, like, and you had some movies on that? That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, I think that the title is cool and intriguing. Which title I actually really had to grow on me was The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a dopey title at first. And then, I don't know, it was like once I said it enough, it was cool. And then when I saw the movie, I totally got it. Same thing with The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I actually thought that was a cool title, but it didn't sound Star Wars to me. That's the problem.
Right.
When they first came out with it, I'm like, well, that just doesn't sound like a Star Wars movie. Ironically enough, the dumbest title of the series, Attack of the Clones, sounds more like a Star Wars movie to me.
Yeah, but it was just so like,
yeah,
for
but
me.
It's just, right.
Like Revenge of the Sith, that was awesome.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I reckon, and I get it. Attack of the Clones is the second movie in the series. It sounds like The Empire Strikes Back. If you think about it, The Empire Strikes Back is kind of a dumb-sounding matinee title, which is what it was supposed to be. But, you put that movie
in context,
and then you attach the superior film to it. It's like,
yeah, true.
Suddenly it's cool.
Well, what do you guys think? Do you like the title? of the Rise of Skywalker, hit us up. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Head-to-head SW. Excuse me. Hit us up on all platforms, Facebook, Twitter, even Instagram. You know, we love to hear what you guys think about the title. I know everyone's going to be talking and clamoring about it. So it's going to be a ride.
Yeah, this is, we finally got it, guys. We got the teaser trailer that we've been looking for.
And we actually have a name, so now we can stop saying episode 9.
Yes. Like, you're going to see a change now in all of our... Because we've been talking about episode 9 on this podcast quite a bit. Now we can finally call it something. Oh, and then on the thumbnails for YouTube, I can stop just putting a giant Roman numeral 9. That's kind of cool, because I'm sitting there going, okay, this thing is predominantly about 9. We don't really have anything, so it forces me to just, I guess I can just put a big 9. So Eric is very happy about the title, guys. All right, so what's up next?
Next, we have From a Certain Point of View.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's get to it, man.
Let's get to it. So here's what we're going to do, guys. This is not just a trailer discussion. This is a trailer breakdown. So you might hear some stuff in the background, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to play this trailer live through my little MacBook Pro. Jeez, I wonder if I should put an affiliate link. Well, if one of you guys bought a MacBook Pro through the link, that'd be really nice. I'll think about that. But what we're going to do is...
It's tax season, so...
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's tax return. You can do it. And I can attest that these things, look, I'll be honest. This is not even really a commercial for it, but MacBooks, I live and die by these things. It's by far, like, for creative stuff, it really helps. But right now, the old MacBook, well, later it's going to edit this podcast, but right now it's going to play the teaser trailer. And what's going to happen is Daryl and I are going to watch it, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. So if you guys have the trailer handy or whatever and you want to follow along, hit the play button right now. All right, so we got some breathing.
Right. Lucasfilm logo.
Yep, Lucasfilm logo. All right, so the trailer starts out where Rey's just kind of breathing heavy, and she's standing in the middle of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it looks like it could be a Jakku-like planet.
Yeah, now the three things that I'm thinking is it's either Jakku, Tatooine, or Jeddah. Those are my three guesses. Everybody forgets about Jeddah.
Yeah.
Remember, we got to see that in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And that would be more my guess.
That would make sense, too.
It would. It would totally make sense in the context. The other thing that I'm noticing, if you guys look at this is geeky. If you guys look at the rock formations in the back, there's a little Tatooine-esque look to them, but they don't look like Tatooine. Actually, the whole area Tatooine doesn't look like this. Tatooine's more smooth and sandy and like sand dunes, and this is more like Arizona type.
Right.
I expect to see like a otherworld cactus or something. All right, so Rey's just standing there, kind of breathing hard. That just sounds...
Yeah, she's getting her little meditation going on.
Yeah, I got her little meditation.
So now you hear the voiceover of Luke Skywalker.
And now she's grabbing her lightsaber. All right, so you basically have, Luke saying, look, 1,000 generations live in you. It's obviously like she's passing this on.
Yeah, he's passing the torch on. He's like, it's up to you now. This is your fight type thing. And in the back, you kind of hear the screech of a TIE fighter.
Yep. So now we're hearing the screech of a TIE fighter. You kind of see it in the background, actually. I didn't notice that before. So now Luke's saying, this is your fight. Every generation has a legend. You see the text. It's fun doing this in podcasts. It's like an audiobook. So now it's panning more of the scenery, right? We're seeing more of the rock formations and... Yeah, it looks like Jeddah to me. Oh, there goes the TIE fighter. Lightsaber ignites. Hopefully this doesn't get flagged for copyrights. Now she's running and the TIE fighter's chasing her.
Awesome shot, man.
Oh, yeah. And then, she does this really cool flip. Okay, so pretty much what's going on, I'm going to turn this down just a touch because I don't need copyright violations on this thing, right? But I mean, so from what we've seen so far, because we know that's basically the first whole scene. What are your thoughts on this whole scene?
You know, it's crazy because I'm kind of wondering if this is actually taking place in reality, or is this some sort of like force vision or something?
Oh, now see, I didn't think about that.
Like, you know, like if she's realizing that, you know, some sort of confrontation, or, you know, is there something that she's seeing? I don't know, but I mean, it looks amazing. I mean, one thing I can say, and this is why I absolutely love JJ doing this, is because his cinematography, man, just this first opening shot is just so captivating to me. You know, just from the shot of her, and then like he uses a lot of the stuff that's kind of like out of focus, and he brings it into you, much like one of my favorite shots was from Force Awakens, those TIE fighters coming up with the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just beautiful to me, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff could be like desktop wallpaper, basically, on your computer. Absolutely.
But I love the whole, you know, she's getting, and she kind of you see she's timing it. Like, okay, she's taking these deep breaths. She knows he's coming. And now she's like, okay, she knows what she has to do. And
you know what, knowing JJ, though, that's
timing
probably not even Kylo. It's probably like a TIE fighter pilot or something.
Probably.
That's another thing, too.
Yeah.
I wonder who that... You're led to believe that that's who it's supposed to be.
Well, I think the only reason why I think is maybe Kylo is because that's his interceptor. Like, I don't think anyone else has.
Well, that's true. But, you know, who knows?
But who knows? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean, it could be somebody like, you know, hey, man, I'm going to go hunt that. Yeah, all right, here's the keys to the interceptor. Go ahead and take that. You know, I mean, who knows? But, I mean, the thing is, I personally think it's probably Kylo.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Because here's another thing, too, you know, and they're notorious for this. And they even did this in The Force Awakens. They really did it in Rogue One. But, you know, half the scenes aren't even in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so who knows? So... up until now, you know, Rey ignited the lightsaber, the Anakin lightsaber.
The Anakin lightsaber, yes.
I should point out.
Yep, so it's rebuilt.
Right, so she runs from this lightsaber, and she does this really cool flip, and then it goes into this Christmas. So, all right, next. Now, I'm trying to figure out where this is. Next, they're showing amongst, like, these clouds, they got this other rock formation. It almost reminds me of Vader's castle.
Or Mustafar?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of has that same, it's not as smooth, obviously, but I'm just wondering, you know, where this is.
Yeah, it's very dark and cloudy. It looks almost kind of like how, I'm thinking of Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly. Like that one area that they went to on that landing platform when they killed Galen Erso. Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. All right, so looks like a Y-wing flew in. So we don't really know too much about that, but this next scene was one that really got my attention. Is that Kylo's fighting a bunch of some sort of alien.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of aliens, but he's got his lightsaber drawn and without a helmet. And
and he actually had stabbed somebody with the crossguard part of it.
Yeah.
You know, which this is the first time that we see an actual combat used for that crossguard.
Yeah. Now, if you go back just a few,
hold on,
a few more. There's a trooper that's along.
This guy?
Yeah. So,
poor guys. You're like, what guy? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
If you guys are watching the trailer right now, it's at the 1:16 mark. That's where we are. And there's this.
Like, the Force is ablaze, like, you know, and this has this red hue to it, which looks awesome. Once again, like you said, like it could be a wallpaper, but it has this whole red hue to it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, and there's smoke everywhere, so it's definitely.
I think that guy's just a normal first order trooper, to be honest. I don't think he's.
I thought he's like one of those special commandos at first.
Oh, like they're trying to tie in the Jedi Fallen Order thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't know. I mean, it's like there's no Jedi to purge.
True, but I mean, I thought it could have been like maybe like another Death Trooper or something like that.
Yeah, like they repurpose the armor. It's like, oh man, we got this new classification. Well, I think we still got that purge armor or something that we're not using. Give them that. All right, so
And then we see Kylo actually.
Kylo's rebuilding his helmet.
Yeah, he's in, the wood.
The woodshed.
The woodshed, with his welder, and he's all welding his mask.
He just doesn't seem like the guy that would have patience to sit there and weld something.
It made it well. I don't know.
That's like the kind of thing that it seems like you would have somebody else do. Like, hey, see those pieces over there? Go weld that thing back together.
Well, I think it's kind of one of those things that he kind of takes pride in because it's almost Vader-esque.
Yeah, it's a personal thing. Well, you know what? This also tells me, speaking of the symbolism of the movie, it's almost like by putting this helmet back together, and he's obviously intends to wear it again, it's like he's re-embracing the dark side.
Yeah.
There was that point in The Last Jedi where it's like, you know what? I'm kind of torn. Even The Force Awakens, he's being tempted by the light side, which I thought was hilariously awesome. It was hilarious because it's sort of like you never really think about a dark guy actually being tempted to go light. You never see that.
Right.
So I thought that was cool. But this is sort of like, okay, you had that whole redemption thing going. It's like, I'm kind of feeling like maybe I'd like to team up with you, but I just want to forget the past. Now it looks like he's re-embracing the past. It's not just the dark side.
And to go with that, though, if you really, want to take it a step further, okay, he's re-embracing the dark, just like Rey had to rebuild the lightsaber to re-embrace she wasn't never leaving the light, but it's almost kind of
like taking on the mantle, saying, you know what, okay, I am going to be the last Jedi. I need to take this responsibility, not go get Papa Luke to go and, do it for me. I'm going to do this. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. All right, let's move on. So we're at 118 now. So building the helmet. All right, then we see, very quickly. So we got Finn and we got Poe. And it looks like they're on that same planet. I'm still saying it's Jeddah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Some sort of
totem pole or something.
Yeah, something. All right, and then we leave that scene, and then we got BB-8 and D-O.
Yep.
Doing something adorable. And then, of course, we get the big reveal of Lando Calrissian.
With Chewie in the cockpit of the Falcon.
Now, here's the thing that I found very interesting, that other podcasters and YouTubers and everybody has pointed out. He's wearing the same yellow shirt as the Donald Glover version.
Yeah, I did notice that.
So I thought that was kind of a nice little nod to... Yeah, tie that in.
Mm-hmm.
Back
even in his cape too. So yep. And it's the same one that he had in Empire.
Well, the only thing is, Lando's gained a little bit of weight. I don't know if this is the same shirt, and
it's the same.
Let out. Plus, he got Lobot. That's another thing. You think we're gonna see Lobot? Man. I would freak out in a majorly good way if they brought Lobot back. I'm not even gonna.
Yeah, hi there. You always love Lobot.
Well, yeah. Remember, I did a whole thing on him in one of the podcasts or something. It was like which character would you? I don't know. It was something like that. But I remember, the Lobot character always intrigued me, and I always thought that. He's kind of like Lando's right-hand guy.
Yeah, he's kind of like Alfred.
He's Jerome to Lando's Morris Day. It's mirror Lobot. All right. So the Falcon and Chewie and Lando are flying. The saga has come to an end. We get some text, and then we see on this Jeddah-like planet again, bunch of stuff blowing up. Troopers chasing. That's 3PO and who else? Is that
Poe?
Poe?
Yep.
Now here's the interesting thing too. This looks like one of those scarabs from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. And it's also just this kind of seems like one of those, almost like a scene from Solo, like one of those swashbuckling kind of.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that there's going to be a lot of fun adventure stuff in this.
Yeah.
And it's good that, we even got C-3PO. Because here's another thing, man. 3PO's been really wasted.
Mm-hmm.
You barely saw him in The Force Awakens.
Right.
The other thing that I noticed, I think this is true in The Last Jedi, but they got rid of that red arm pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe they addressed that in a comic.
Yeah, he's back to being all gold again.
Yeah, he's back to being all gold. So, that's cool.
You gotta wonder if 3PO is actually going to wouldn't it be awesome if he just starts firing again like he did in Attack of the Clones, but actually the full body, not just the head? In Attack of the Clones, his head was attached to one of those battle droids.
One of the, yep.
But if he's actually full 3PO and he's actually firing at something, That'd be hilarious.
man, he just is like, you know what?
I've
he
had it.
turns into like Commando C-3PO or something.
Screw it.
That would be hilarious. No, the ultimate thing would be C-3PO picking up a lightsaber.
Oh, no, that would just be, I don't know, man. That would be cheesy to me. But him picking up a blaster.
I didn't say it wouldn't be cheesy. I just said it would be. All right, let's move on. So we're at 131. All right, we see. That was a big deal.
Yeah. So I believe that's the hand of Leia.
I think it is the hand of Leia.
And I think it's her holding Han's medal from
I was gonna say, because it's definitely one of the New Hope medals, but I think it's Han's.
Yeah, I think it's Han. Just her.
First of all, well, she could have Luke's though too.
True.
And Luke did freshly die.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be either or. We know it wasn't Chewie because Chewie didn't get one. But yeah, it could. You know what? I was
maybe this is when Chewie
Han's.
gets it.
It's like, listen, both these guys are dead here.
Well, it'd be awesome because think about it, like. That would be awesome for her to give it to Chewie because Han was his best friend. I mean,
Yeah, I could see that. Or she might even be giving it to Lando.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those things where, once again, it's another fan service thing, but I think that this is going to factor into the story. And once again, this really shows that they are totally tying the whole series together.
Yeah, and trying to pay attention to every little thing.
They're bringing in artifacts from the past and all this, and hopefully it's not another dice thing that disappears or something stupid. That was the only thing that irritated me about that.
Yeah, that was weird.
All right, so now we get Rey and Leia in an embrace, and this is obviously the unused footage we were talking about from...
But it looks good. It
really does.
It fits to me so far. I mean, and it's... Because it was actually shot, so it's not like it's forced, but then you see like the tear come down from Rey's eyes, so you kind of wonder, like...
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, what did they... Yeah, it's just so weird.
You kind of almost wonder, like, what...
What was the original scene?
Yeah.
That they were shooting, that they cut?
Well, it probably was from Force Awakens when Han died, and she came back.
Yeah, it probably
That's probably where it's from.
Yeah, then they might have changed it or something. Yeah, it's a good point. Okay. We're at 135. We're going to move on. All right, so he's saying, we'll always be with you. And then we see one of the coolest shots where...
Yeah, the gang was all there, man.
The gang is all there, and they're standing in front of the wreckage of the Death Star.
And Rey's wearing, like, all white.
Yeah, it's kind of got that whole, like, New Hope Princess Leia vibe going now.
Yeah, she looks like one of the other... I'm trying to think one of those, almost like an Ahsoka vibe to her, for whatever reason.
Getting a little Mon Mothma, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. But the thing that I'm wondering is, which Death Star is this? And it's like, there's been a lot of people that have theorized that what we're looking at is the other side of Endor, that this is actually either Endor, because everybody forgets that base was on a moon of Endor. It wasn't Endor itself.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be Endor. This could be that moon, but a different side of it.
Could be, yeah.
Ruins. Yeah, there is some speculation on that too.
But then again, wait, wasn't the beginning of Episode 8 taking place on Yavin?
Well, you're thinking of Rogue One. Rogue One had some Yavin scenes. No,
but when they were leaving, before the Dreadnought showed up, I think they were on Yavin, if I'm not mistaken. Because if that was the case, then I don't think the Death Star would have. I think they probably would have explored that wreckage already by then. So I'm thinking it's probably Endor. I'm more liable.
Yeah, even though, I mean, I can see, because some people were theorizing it Yavin too. It's
because you would think Yavin because it was so close.
And the thing is that terrain looks a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more
foresty and.
Yeah, I mean, but Endor was the forest moon of Endor. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. But of course,
it has a bunch of water.
So now Luke Skywalker is saying, no one's ever really gone.
Face to
black.
black.
Silence. And then, of course, we get the big, big reveal.
The Emperor's cackle.
Yes, the Emperor's cackle, and then we get the title. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So we actually got a lot of stuff to digest in this
And it's in
trailer.
blue. The letters are in blue.
Yeah, did we... I remember
Because-
everybody was like all cranked up that the Last Jedi letters were in red.
Right. And then,
But did we really think that means something?
well, I mean, and if you look at, normally it's in gold.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's in blue kind of implies light side.
Well, okay. That could have been something that was totally done on purpose, where the Last Jedi is a little bit dark, the dark side's winning, now the blue side,
The blue side.
the blue side, the light side is now, winning on
Rising.
this one
And that's-
rising, and
Yeah. So
yeah, that could be. That's it. That's what you want to talk about with the trailer is the font.
yes.
Well, I mean, it would make us different from the other ones.
But no, I mean, I love the trailer. Like I said, I thought it was awesome from the opening, and that's what I think it was perfect. You and I've always talked about trailers and what makes a good trailer, what goes into it, and how even you actually send stuff to companies that specifically just make trailers because they're so good at it. I love the bookend of it though. Like you have this great shot of Rey and this TIE fighter and this whole opening thing. And it's just like, wow. Like the light side, like Rey is really powerful because she's flipping over a whole TIE fighter. So that just shows kind of like, wow, she's powerful. But then at the very end, you get the Emperor's cackle and you're just like, it's almost like Han Solo, like, I know that laugh. And you're just kind of like,
Well, it's funny because I started wondering, my mind started wandering to Rebels, that World Between Worlds, I think it's called, that they explored in the final episode where it's like Ahsoka's going through all these doors and it's
The
stuff from
doorways,
the
yeah.
past. And, I almost wonder if that ties into that.
possibly.
What would blow everybody's mind is if you saw a Harrison Ford cameo. Hey, it says no one's ever really gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, I think so. I mean, of course, we know with the laugh, everybody's, and even JJ said in the panel, like, okay, see, at first, we were thinking like, okay, Palpatine could come back as far as like maybe he's just a
I want to put it
holocron.
on note, though, before you go on, that we have actually been talking quite a bit on this show that Palpatine could easily come back and could be the new bad guy.
Right.
Just want to put that out there.
New old bad guy, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that everybody knows that.
We said it first. No. But yeah, I think he's going to be, I think he's actually coming back fully simply because you have this cackle. And I remember we thought that, okay, well, maybe he will pop up as a holocron or something like.
Yeah, we did discuss that possibility.
Kylo was going to find like a Sith holocron and he's just going to kind of learn. But JJ was talking about like, the ultimate bad guy.
Right.
And, and so then you equate that with Palpatine as being the ultimate bad guy from the original trilogy, especially if you're trying to tie everything together. You almost need someone to kind of bring that in. Who better than Palpatine to do it?
It's like, where do you begin with this discussion?
Yeah, this is the whole.
I hate to say it, this is going to tie all our podcasts together, right? It's almost like the rise of us. Pretty much, one of the arguments that we always made about the idea of Palpatine coming back in universe, I'm talking about, is the fact that you had the Plagueis thing,
right?
That's something that the whole Plagueis thing that we were talking about actually ties in a lot of the stuff because that idea was brought up in the prequels, about how Plagueis learned how to cheat death and Palpatine obviously learned this stuff. And then it was essentially confirmed in the Darth Vader comic that Palpatine is responsible for Anakin's birth,
right?
That he manipulated the Force and, was able to do that. So then, of course, in the novels, you have this whole thing where there's this contingency plan that Palpatine created in case the Empire fell, which is one reason why that could still be Jakku, because that actually took place in Jakku. But and then
he had a whole underground facility over there too.
Yeah, he had the whole underground facility. Exactly, he had all this stuff, and then of course he was always talking about how he sensed this dark side presence that was calling out to him in the unknown regions. So he's trying to explore that. There's, I'm honestly thinking that this is also the movie where we really definitively find out who Snoke really is and what his role in all this is. Because I have a feeling that Snoke could have been one of those entities. Palpatine probably set the whole thing up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of ways that this could make sense.
Yeah.
But here's another question, too. You and I have talked about this. Do you think that this adds more credence to the theory that we had always thought about, where Palpatine and Rey could be related?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it could be that.
I do.
I mean, I think it's because I feel like Palpatine will either come back for one or two reasons. Either to retrieve Rey and it's like, okay, bring her to the dark side, or the fact that, okay, he has another Skywalker with Kylo that he can actually...
Yeah, but it also would bring up a lot more questions, though. It's like, well, where has he been all these years? I mean, see, that's the other thing.
Why now?
Too.
Like, why wait till now?
Yeah, I mean, and I would imagine that, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of catalyst. Well,
I mean, it would make the most sense is as long as Luke was around, he knew he probably maybe didn't have a chance.
Well, there is that possibility. But then if he was still, and this goes back to something else we talked about, I wonder how aware he was of Force ghosts.
Well, I mean, he may not be aware of Force ghosts, but I mean, that might not be on the Sith side, but like the whole reincarnation type thing, or like I said, maybe it's a thing where, okay, Kylo finds some weird thing that Palpatine kind of stored away, and Kylo stumbles upon it, and it's like, oh, the guy who instructed my grandfather, okay, yeah, activate. Yeah, I need this guy back. Maybe he can actually bring me to.
Well, that would be right. See, that would be more of
that would make
like a vampiric type of thing or something like that, where it's something that awakens him.
Yeah,
almost like those mummy type plots, and a little drop of blood falls in and it reawakens, or the Scorpion King or something crazy,
Or Kylo finds like, okay, maybe I find this holocron. He goes looking for some stuff and he summons or brings back Palpatine to teach him how to, because he realized Snoke couldn't do it. Snoke didn't do it. Well, maybe the guy who instructed my grandfather will actually do it. And then now he will become ultimately powerful. And then,
well, there's a lot of things.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could.
There are. I mean, and it almost goes back to some of the Rey parentage theories, right? So there was a bunch of there was one that was, well, on Quora, there's somebody that had asked me a question that I actually just answered today, and it was, what do you think are the most ridiculous Star Wars theories ever?
Mm-hmm.
So I answered, well, there's a lot of them, but I'll give you my top three. So the first one was that Mace Windu is Snoke.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean,
I concur.
Intriguing, but ridiculous. The second one was that, Jar Jar is like a secret Sith Lord or something.
That would be actually my number one.
Well, these aren't in order.
Oh, okay.
These are just like top three. Gotcha. It's like, these are, it's not like 1, 2, and 3. I mean,
I got it.
Yeah, that would definitely be number one. Again, interesting when you look at the evidence and all that behind it. It's kind of, it's fun.
It's fun, but come on.
Fun, but ridiculous. The third one is that Rey is Anakin reincarnated or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There was a huge rumor going on probably about a year ago that was like the thing, that it was like Anakin was reborn in the form of Rey or something really ridiculous. That's, again, intriguing.
Trans Jedi or something.
Yeah. Now the thing that makes it really interesting to me though is that there's another rumor that ties into the original opening of The Force Awakens, that she's actually a clone from Luke's hand.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that the Mesa Snoke and then, her being, these are, again, are interesting. They're intriguing.
Some are intricate.
They're they're still a little ridiculous, but they are at least intriguing. Now, of course, being a clone from Luke's hand, that's a bit of a stretch. I would actually rather her be Palpatine's granddaughter, honestly, if we're going to go there. But, and that brings up another thing, too, because when you talk about the cloning, that's why I say that it's still a little on the ridiculous side, but there is Star Wars precedence for this.
Yeah.
Clones were like the big thing in the prequel trilogy.
Yep.
And obviously you would think that we don't really know what happened to the whole cloning technology.
Yeah,
post prequels.
Well, quite frankly, Palpatine was behind that. So well,
sure. So it's kind of like
reason. It's
absolutely. He probably
yeah.
has a ton of secret cloning facilities, right? So my whole thing could be maybe they're going to go the expanded universe route. The expanded universe put forth, I think it was in the Timothy Zahn novels, actually, that Palpatine had made several clones of himself. And what would happen is if, he was killed, his Force essence or whatever could then just inhabit the body of a new clone.
Right. And it's just kind of like, all right, well, if things started to be on the rise, like Snoke said, as one side rises, the other rises to meet it. So it's just kind of like, it could be that tide shift, and I think, honestly, this would actually blow my mind, is if Luke actually came back and actually fought Palpatine.
See, I could not help but go there myself.
Yeah. Because if that happens,
what an epic battle that would be.
Dude, Star Wars would be like
a seasoned Luke against,
Palpatine in the end, and then you got Rey versus Kylo, like on another spot.
That could oh man, that could be quite the epic battle, actually.
Fam, look, I can't even put it into words, like what that would be doing, what that would do to me. Like, that's crazy. But if it happens, I'm here for it.
Yeah, and it just, the other thing
Please,
that
JJ.
I kind of go back and forth on this too, because while I'm very excited about Palpatine being back, and I honestly half expected that, it really was not a surprise to me that they brought him back. They've been hinting towards it. Well, they've been hinting towards it out of universe, but I've long pointed out since we started this podcast that there's a lot of in-universe hints that the Palpatine character was not finished by any stretch. Now, that could be either by resurrection, like an actual embodiment of Palpatine, or it could just be that his influence is felt. Like he's actually dead, but, that's when we started coming to the holocron thing. And a lot of the plans that he put into motion would then just be, be executed. Yeah, so that doesn't really surprise me. But I did think about the fact that it would almost, in some ways to me, it almost cheapens the end of Return of the Jedi by bringing him back.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm not happy and don't want it, but and especially if there's a Luke and Palpatine rematch, it really then kind of cheapens it, and I have to really be thoughtful on, do I want that just because that would be cool,
or does it really
serve the story
now, and push
But see, if you actually take it from the standpoint of, hey, he used the whole Plagueis trick to actually resurrect himself, well, then it makes sense. But then you have to ask yourself, why now? And then you you have to tell me who Snoke is at this point.
Well, he's going. I mean, if Palpatine comes back, that's one thing I love about him because he's like a Bond villain. Like he tells you why.
That is true. He tells you the whole plan. Like, listen, sit down. I hope you got a pen and paper.
Yeah.
Just get
Take
this.
Notes.
Hit record. Here we go.
Yep. And that was the coolest thing. Like going back to the panel, man. Like when I watched it. And I heard the cackle.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
We forgot to mention that part, actually.
Well, I was saving it for this point.
Well, I was hoping so, but
because
I'm glad I didn't blow it for you then. It's like, hey, remember that part where...
Right. So at the end of the panel, they show the trailer, and the entire cast, including JJ and everybody, walks off the stage, and the lights in the auditorium go out. And they show the trailer. So everybody's just like screaming and everybody's going nuts when they hear the Palpatine cackle. But then as the lights come on, there's Ian McDiarmid standing there in all black.
Yep.
And then he just says, show it again. And it's like amazing. It's just the fact that like everybody went berserk after that because it's like, holy crap.
Now, the funny thing
he's
is,
there.
So far, and again, you've watched more of the coverage than I have. So far, is that the only appearance he's made?
That I've seen so far, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what's... Now, I'm sure he's going to be on that Phantom Menace retrospective.
And they're probably going to bring up like... Okay,
they're going to bring it up.
Yeah, like, dude.
That
like,
poor guy is going to get inundated.
Yeah, he's going to be on every Tonight Show.
Yeah, he better have like presidential level security walking around this panel because he's definitely going to be asked
a
lot of questions.
Yeah. Exactly. He's going to have to be like a recluse for like till like December.
Well, and I mean that's the thing, it's like this trailer in typical JJ fashion almost asks more questions than it answers.
But the cool thing about this trailer,
I like that.
Yeah, but the cool thing about the trailer is that it's like 2 minutes and what?
3 seconds.
2 minutes and 3 seconds.
At least on Star Wars official YouTube thing.
So that's the runtime, and that's pretty.
That's actually a pretty healthy teaser. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can only imagine what we're going to get like when we get like September,
October. Yeah. Well, and we're probably going to get a little bit more context too. One of my filmmaking friends, Brad, he had posted that on his Facebook page that he was actually kind of disappointed in the trailer. Now, keep in mind, this guy's an actual film guy. Like he's worked on a lot of really big movies. Most recently, he was actually on Motley Crue's The Dirt. He was one of the camera guys for that. So he was talking about how the trailer had a bunch of boring shots, and it wasn't really all that, there wasn't a whole lot of context and on. And it's like, I agree with his actual statement, but I think that was intentional.
Yeah, you can't give too much away.
You don't really want to give too much story away. Now, you got to understand that, I would have him call into the show, but we would be severely outclassed. Because I remember when we were in high school, this guy was like given like college level film reviews and commentaries, and like he's one of those guys that actually studied film. Those film snob dudes.
Yeah,
he's kind of like that, but I mean, he's not snobby. He's extremely knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like the behind the scenes and analyzing shots and all that. Like, all the stuff that you study in college, he's kind of like that. So it would be interesting to get his take, actually. But I agree. I think that, a lot of things, what they were trying to do is give you the overall scope and the feel and a little bit of a taste of what's to come and give you enough shots that would excite you. And let's face it, this was JJ going, hey, guys, this isn't The Last Jedi.
Right. And you just got to wonder, like, with, we've talked about this before, but okay, with Marvel coming out with the Endgame being 3 hours, like, you just wonder how long this movie's going to be.
I thought about that too. I actually thought about the runtime of this movie. It's probably a lot like the runtime of this podcast, but I thought about the runtime of this movie. And is it going to be now the new because wasn't The Last Jedi now the longest Star Wars
movie? Yeah.
Yeah. Was it like 2:26 or something crazy like that? Yeah, I would definitely say, like, look, man, you got a lot of stuff you got to wrap up. Why don't you just give us 250, 3 hours, 3:15? Look, Titanic was like 3:40 15 or 16.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what happens there.
Yep. All that to tell us about the ship going
Yeah,
down.
all that, right. Ship hits iceberg and sinks. 3 hours.
Exactly.
In fact, the joke about that was the movie was actually longer than the sinking.
Yeah, exactly.
So, JJ, you gotta, not like he's listening to this. Wonder what the head-to-head guys think. If he was listening to this, I wouldn't want him on this show.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, ratings would not be a problem. But, it's like, come on, man. You're going to finish up the story. Take the time and finish it up. Don't expedite the thing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, what do you guys think? Did you guys, see the trailer? Oh, that's a dumb question. What'd you guys think of the trailer? That's better.
There you go.
And we'll, like I said, we'll provide a link in the show notes so you can actually see it if you, for some reason, missed it. I can't imagine. But let us know at head-to-head-SW on Twitter, Facebook. You can now talk to us on Instagram even. We'd love to hear from you guys. All right. Well, actually, I'm the one that introduces this segment.
It's on you, my friend.
It is on me. So this next one is, of course, one of my favorites. Clear your mind. So this week, we, as always, are taking your questions, but we really wanted to have more of an in-depth discussion. So this time we only took one question, but a good friend of mine, Tim Grizankowski, had submitted a question, which of course Daryl will end up reading in a second, but he had submitted a question when I saw him on our bowling league, actually. He really loves the show too. He thinks it's really cool, and it's really great too. I had to point this out that everybody that listens to us, we love, it's valuable and all that. And then it blows my mind when you get some of these other people who listen who don't know us in real life.
Right.
Like people like Patrick McIntosh who, has reached out to us, and there's a couple, but people that actually don't know you and really love that's just what a great compliment that is. But it's also equally cool when somebody you do know listens to whatever you're doing and is like, hey man, this is really cool. Because friends tend to be the ones that are the most critical.
Right.
And they just, so it's really great that Tim really, participates and writes and, listens to the show, and we talk about it all the time. So he actually had asked me a question and I couldn't remember what it was. So I reached out to him today because I'm like, man, we're recording today. We really want to share this question. So it's a good one. What is it?
All right. So Tim asked, pretty much of all the possibilities and revelations that could occur at this celebration, what will utterly shock you the most? For me, this may have already been answered.
So I suspect, although I haven't gotten confirmation, I suspect he was talking about the Palpatine reveal.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wrote to him on our Twitter page at head-to-head-SW, which you guys are free to write. I wrote to him and said, look, you know what? If you're talking about the Palpatine thing, that actually wasn't, not only was it not a shock, it was an expectation on my part.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you probably felt the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So he's asking basically what at Celebration would be like the most jaw-dropping, shocking.
Well, it didn't happen for me, but I think if there was, I didn't see Mark Hamill.
Right.
So that was kind of like, oh man, but I know, depending on what his role is in the movie.
I honestly think that just further demonstrates that he does not have that big of a role. And it also basically is saying in the trailer, like, look, we're
passing it on.
Passing it on.
But I was actually, I was actually kind of shocked to see Leia in the trailer. Like, I didn't expect us to show Leia.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't, we all knew that it was going to be in it, but I figured they were going to focus more so on everybody else and not really show
but
Leia.
I think he's more or less trying to find out, like, at Celebration, period, right? Like, what would be, like, some reveal or some shock? I could tell you, for me, it's really difficult because on one hand you're saying, okay, what are you going to reveal about 9? If you're talking about as far as what they would reveal at Celebration, I think if they came out and said, hey, we're making an Obi-Wan movie, that would shock me at this point.
Yeah.
And hey, here's Ewan McGregor, and guess what? He's probably on the Phantom Menace panel.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh yeah, so how was it like playing Obi-Wan? Well, guess what, everybody? He's playing Obi-Wan again.
Yep, and here's
they
the trailer.
actually announced it. Yeah. Right. Oh, that'd be priceless. Oh, by the way, here's the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that would be it right there.
Yep.
That would probably be my most shocking moment because again, you could say anything would be shocking. So that would be probably the most shocking revelation to me because it's also the most plausible of something that can happen. Another one would be if, they were talking about episode 9 and they brought Harrison Ford out. Or if Harrison Ford just happened to, participate in some way. Mm-hmm. That would be a shocking thing. I mean, the celebration's basically half over when we're recording this, so
right.
And there's some things, and in his defense, he actually asked me this question before anything hit.
Kicked off, right?
Yeah, so this would actually include the episode 9 panel. Mm-hmm. It would have actually surprised me if we want to take everything in its totality. If they didn't show a trailer for episode 9, or if they, didn't give us the title or something. That would have shocked me. Another thing that I can say along the same lines of the Obi-Wan thing is if they had given us a Cassian Andor trailer for that series.
Yeah. I mean, we still may see something. I mean,
that's true. They're doing a TV panel, but so there you go. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I would love.
But see, I think that they're going to focus more on the Mandalorian. That's why it would really shock me if they just brought out of nowhere.
Yeah,
that's
a good one. Yeah, I don't know what really would shock me. I mean, honestly, like at this point, I was kind of
good saga film.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
I was actually kind of shocked that. I mean, a little bit. That
you said the Leia
thing, but they're also
scene
like
in the trailer.
But Rey rebuilding the lightsaber. Honestly,
that actually shocked you.
I mean, because on one hand, I kind of wanted her to have her own. Like honestly, I would have loved if like she kind of had the double bladed thing like when we talked about.
Well, that's
because they even on the panel they were showing her with the stick, like she still has this stick.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like, well, you know what?
It's kind of like that's her
maybe
comfort.
That's just like sort of like her holdover lightsaber. But then again, if she's going to take the time to repair it.
Yeah. And then of course she still has the blaster kind of like Luke. Like she has a blaster and a lightsaber. But,
Yeah, she's sort of at that Empire Strikes Back point where Luke was. Where it's still kind of a reliance on the familiar.
Yeah.
Like I get this. I understand the blaster. This laser sword thing is kind of weird and trippy, although I like it.
Yeah.
I
just think that her having the Anakin one is cool because it's like, okay, once again, still ties everything together. But I almost kind of wish like, now what would have been awesome? This would have shocked me if she'd ignited the green one.
Yeah, I thought about that too, actually.
Or she finds it that maybe she loses that one, but gets Luke's at the end or something like that would shock me.
Well, the other thing too is that if it was damaged, I don't remember her picking the kyber crystal up. It almost makes me wonder if maybe she's on that, if that is Jedha. Mm-hmm. And we all know Jedha has the kyber crystals.
Yeah.
So what if she was on there looking for a kyber crystal and Kylo happened to find her, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's all kinds of explanations.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is that we also know that the kyber crystal's color is affected by the person that's wielding it or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe blue just happens to be her thing.
Right.
Or maybe she was just like, you know what, this would match Finn's pants perfectly. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But the thing is like, so you have to go by, like, you have to pretend, because we're halfway through the celebration right now, you almost have to go, okay, what would have shocked you the most Thursday?
Right.
You know, like before we saw anything.
Well, honestly, the trailer, I mean, it wouldn't have shocked me, but it was just like shocking to see what's in the trailer.
Yeah, and that definitely counts. So for you, one of the things was, okay, we saw Leia.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think we would see Leia. I have to admit that was a shock too. Like there was a part of me that thought they would hold that off.
Yeah, you kind of hear her theme too.
Yeah.
That was nice.
That was cool. I think it would have shocked me if we saw Palpatine in the trailer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, you know, it's like hearing Palpatine. It's funny because on one hand, I keep saying that, that doesn't shock me. You know, it makes sense that he's in a movie. But in a way, it shocks me that it was actually done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, hey, that's kind of what I thought would happen, and I'm sort of surprised they did it.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised I'm right about this.
Yeah, I'm kind of right about this, and it's interesting. But I think from the time on, if they announced an Obi-Wan movie, if they showed us a Cassian Andor trilogy, or the series, yeah, if they showed us the trailer, I mean, we know it's happening, but if they actually say, hey, check this out, we have a little sizzle reel, you know, maybe it's not even a full-blown, maybe it's another one of those, like, 30-second, you know, they only show us the title, like that original Rogue One teaser. Well, it actually had Alec Guinness's voice on it.
Well, here's one that would actually be shocking too, is if we get like the whole, of course they're not going to show us anything because they don't have anything to show yet, but just Benioff and Weiss actually talking about their...
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, the Benioff and Weiss.
Yeah, if they talked about their whole project that they have coming
that would
up.
shock me only because I really think that they're trying to keep the focus on the Rise of Skywalker and the Mandalorian. As far as any kind of live action type of thing.
Right.
Another good shocking thing would be if they showed a full episode of the upcoming Clone Wars series.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that would shock me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, these are like the biggest shocks. Now, in his question, it's not like I don't have it in front of me. Pretty much of all the possibilities / revelations, okay, could occur, what would utterly shock you the most? So I think if I had to pick like a number one, it'd be the Obi-Wan film.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, because you have to frame this question in the sense of what's possible. I mean, you could sit there and say anything like, oh, Thrawn having his own movie, or, you know, I'm looking at this question in terms of what are some of the things that
have been going around.
Have been sort of circling around and could be announced. So there's a possibility that it could be announced. So the Obi-Wan movie would be that. Now, Revelation, we could do it that way too. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do a possibility of what could be announced as well as a revelation?
Okay. Well, if I had to go with well, how do you want to define the revelations?
Well, it's like something that's being revealed that you talk. Well, I could see what you're saying on that one, where it's kind of like, are you talking about like, oh, the Obi-Wan movie's been? Is that a revelation or a possibility? I'm going to count that as a possibility.
Okay.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we say the possibilities are things like movie announcements and book and stuff like that. The revelations are like in movie things, like, hey, Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter.
Okay, got you. So. Possibilities. I'll go with you on the Obi-Wan thing.
He's such a smart guy.
But revelations, if Mace Windu lived.
Ooh, that's a great one. I like it.
Yes, if Mace Windu survived.
That's going to be my honorary one now. I mean, I could give a couple, I guess. So yeah, all right. So possibility. You're going with me on the Obi-Wan movie. The revelation is Mace Windu did not die.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I'm going with that one if I can't top it, because that's something I've thought about a lot. And if they just announce that out of nowhere, like, hey, Mace Windu's still alive and he's in episode 9 or he's in The Mandalorian or whatever, that would actually be cool. Another one, I would say revelation-wise. Oh, man, I kind of forgot a lot of them. See, because the Mace Windu one was so cool.
I mean, how cool would that have been if you watched the trailer and, of course, like, you hear, no one's really gone. And then you see this, the blade, the purple blade come out.
Purple blade come
out. And then you hear the Emperor's cackle after that. Like, dude. Like,
oh, there you go. A rematch between Windu and Palpatine.
There you go.
Yeah, wow, that's a good one. Yeah, the revelation of Mace Windu being alive. I've thought about that because he never actually. I mean, it was plausible that he could have survived.
Or you just hear him like talk to Rey, like you hear his voice, and she's his master, and you hear like Mace Windu's voice.
I'll tell you what though, another one that would be up there. I'm trying to remember my original ones. It's too bad because my original ones were actually pretty good. But another one for me would be to find out Boba Fett's fate. He climbed out of the Sarlacc and we're making a movie about him.
Gotcha. Okay.
Something like that.
Yep, that's a good one.
Boba Fett, because that's been another one. Everybody, because, the expanded universe showed how he got out of the Sarlacc pit. And now all of a sudden, but it's like, oh, yeah, here's a revelation. He's actually alive. He's out of the pit. And now he's in The Mandalorian in an episode or something. Or maybe there's a 2 or 3 story arc. That would be a cool revelation to me. Is to find out that he's still alive. Because he should be. I'm going to put that out there. He should be. First of all, that was a stupid death. I mean, let's be honest. That was like the dumbest. You have this really cool character, and that's how he goes out in this Looney Tunes, cartoony,
like he's like the best bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Yeah, and it's just some I mean, it was just so slapstick, man.
One of those Three Stooges.
Yeah, pretty much. I was almost looking for Bugs Bunny to, I mean, it was ridiculous, man. I mean, it just, even as a kid, keep in mind, I was like, well, let's see, it came out in May of 83. So I was like 12 years old. I was 12 when that came out. And even at 12, I'm like, seriously, dude? Like, this bounty hunter that was so cool in the last movie and, he was all intriguing and I was really kind of into him. And that's it? That's how he's going out? So this is what we're going with then. So I always thought that he really deserved a second chance. Man, what was it though? It was something big, and I think it was something around the Mandalorian or something like that.
Well, that'd be cool if he actually showed up in the Mandalorian.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you find out he's the Sarlacc, and then they announce, oh, by the way, he's on an episode or a 2 or 3 episode story arc or something on the Mandalorian. That would be a big revelation. I really wish I can figure out what my other in-universe revelations were, because they were actually kind of cool. But you know what? If I think of it, I will hit everybody up at head-to-head-SW on Twitter and Facebook. It goes both ways, my friends. It goes both ways.
But all right.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for our very lengthy show. I hope you guys have enjoyed our take on the whole celebration. We want to hear yours. If you guys have caught any of the coverage, of course, your reaction to the trailer.
Yeah, if you guys actually went, pictures, please.
Yes, if you guys went, now that's what you need to put on our Instagram.
Yeah.
Tag us in those. At head-to-head-SW. Give us your celebration photos. I mean, well, actually, by the time this podcast airs, it'll be the last day of celebration. So if you're there, then, we need to see those.
Absolutely.
And then remember that next week we will be doing
the full
wrap-up of celebration. And, we might even do some similar to what we did the trailer. We might play some clips and comment on it. I don't know. Half the time I say these things and we never end up really.
It's like Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the shots in Rogue One. They may not end up.
Yep. Basically like that Google Hangouts thing. Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of the footage you saw in the original Rogue One trailer. All right, well, we will see you guys next week. Make sure that you hit us up at Head to Head SW on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check out the affiliate links that we are putting in. They're going to benefit you guys because you get some really cool Star Wars-related products, and we get some much-needed money to keep this show going. And eventually, we're going to try to get some apparel. You know, we're going to try to get some maybe head-to-head T-shirts and
stuff coming up.
some other stuff made. So it's going to do it for our show this week. I am Eric Vansel.
I'm Daryl Sanders.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at HeadToHeadSW. Submit your questions for our next show. Visit our official website at headtoheadswpodcast.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.